This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hope you're staying warm. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, a game day edition as the Jets back home for a quick pit stop before heading out east to take on the Ottawa Senators tonight. Lots of news coming out of the morning skate. We'll get to that here from Bones in just a minute. And Jamie Thomas back from the road as well with Jets TV and CJOB Jets Radio. Going to jump on the program. Ken Wiebe, a little earlier than normal, coming on today to set up tonight's game and look ahead to the rest of the week for the Winnipeg Jets. And we'll also get the latest on the Ottawa Senators with the play-by-play voice of the Sens on TSN, Jon Abbott. Of course, the 12 Days of Marbles continues, our Marbles Tournament of Champions, another qualifying race, and another new Marbles theme song from Tristan Rivers Music coming up in the last portion of the program. Make sure you are with us at 2:45 p.m. when registration begins on YouTube. And again, I always mention this for podcast listeners. If you're getting this afterwards, there's still time to get in the races this week. Throw a little reminder on your phone at 2:45. Jump on in YouTube. Get in there. Even if you're listening to the majority of the content via audio at a later time. Should be a good one tonight. We'll talk a lot about the new look of the Jets power play and maybe the biggest injury or question mark for tonight's game that had a lot of people, myself included, on pins and needles for the better part of this morning until we heard from Rick Bowness. We'll do that in just a second with Michael Remis. Before we do anything, do want to thank all of the great sponsors that make this show happen, including our friends at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Not Auto Corp, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Manitoba Battery, F Apparel. I know Remo was down at F this morning. Consolidated Supply, Wallace & Wallace, Vita Health Fresh Market, Culligan Water, and of course, the great taste of our favorite local beer, Little Brown Jug, along with their friends over at Canadian Club. Let's get Remis in here. Remo, how are you today?
Well, I think we can all collectively exhale, right? I was at F Apparel this morning, so I wasn't looking at a lot of the Twitter and all the news. And you're like, Hellebuyck didn't participate in the morning skate, and they called up Arvid Holm, and I was like, oh. And you're like, I don't know if I can do the show today. He's not going to be there. That's how much of an MVP candidate he is. So we can all breathe out. I think we're feeling good now.
The minute I saw that, and listen, Jets media, don't do us like that. Can you please not announce an hour before the morning skate that Arvid Holm has been called up on an emergency basis without any further information? That was the most terrifying 90 minutes until we heard from Rick Bowness as to what was what on Connor Hellebuyck. I had a little prayer circle. I was lighting candles. I was calling spiritual people in my life for well wishes for Connor. But there is good news. And Remo, why don't we just play this right off the bat and we'll talk about this at number one. Needless to say, the very first order of business when Rick Bowness took to the microphone after the morning skate was what was up with the emergency recall of Arvid Holm and where is Connor Hellebuyck? This is what Bones had to say.
Non-COVID related illness, not feeling great, so we told him to stay home. We fully expect him to come on the road trip tomorrow.
But David tonight then.
David tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. And honestly, Remis, I don't blame Jet fans for wondering what the hell else could happen right now, because it started in third game of the season with Nikolai Ehlers out. We've had Morgan Barron out for a considerable period of time. Then it was Mason Appleton. Then bang, bang, Nate Schmidt and Blake Wheeler. And you just wonder what else could possibly happen to this club. I mean, touch wood, of course. There's plenty of other guys that have been, really carrying the mail for the Winnipeg Jets, but none more than number 37, Connor Hellebuyck. And, of course, Elliot Friedman, regular WST viewer, has jumped on the wagon. So at what point are we going to stop talking about the Vezina and start talking about the Hart for Connor Hellebuyck? Well, that time is right now. But man, a big opportunity for Big Save Dave, who I thought played very well against Seattle despite taking the L, to go up against the Ottawa Senators tonight.
Yeah, Ottawa's an interesting team. They've allowed a lot of goals. They can certainly score them. They're missing Tim Stützle. Sorry. I think he said non-COVID illness in the clip. I think there was some volume issues there. Stonewall Dave was saying non-COVID illness. I don't know if that came through. The volume was low, or maybe Stonewall Dave.
He's just sick. Like back when
he's sick.
People used to get sick back in the pre-COVID days. It just happened. This would be, and I'm sure they're testing and doing all that. Yeah, exactly. There's some people that are sick. I haven't been feeling particularly great lately, but there was no emergency recall for WST today. There was no one basically to tell me to stay home. I guess You are home. You are home. Yeah.
I mean, it was going around the team. You had to think eventually Hellebuyck was going to get hit, and this is his turn. And, I thought maybe, he took a puck to the groin husk, played the third period of Saturday's game, then had surgery. I thought maybe we were going to get that. He'd be out for a month. But it was just a standard illness. Seems to be going around the team. Dubois had the IV last week, and his turn. Take a seat tonight. Rittich is in, and I'm looking forward to seeing Ottawa. No Tim Stützle but they, Brady Tkachuk, he can score. He's with Brassard and Giroux. DeBrincat, Shane Pinto, who's he had some nice games with Drake Batherson. And DeBrincat off to a slow start, but he had a really nice week last week. And then, the bottom of their lineup with Tyler Mott, to Kastelik and Austin Watson, Gambrell, Chartier, Kelly. Defense is what they've needed all year. Shabbat, Zaitsev, Jake Sanderson had a nice season so far with the Manitoban, Travis Hamonic, Brandstrom, and who's that? Nick Holden there. So that's Ottawa. Cam Talbot starting in that trade to Ottawa in the offseason after they named Marc-Andre Fleury, the starter there in Minnesota. I'm curious about Ottawa. I know they give up a lot of goals, and the Jets are still favored, but a bit tougher. You don't have, I don't know, you maybe play a bit different when you don't have Hellebuyck back there saving everything.
Well, for sure. And listen, I said this yesterday. This is I'm nervous about this game a little bit from a Jets perspective. I mean, I think they've been very good. They've been very consistent this year. They have bounced back after losses every single time this season, with the exception of twice with two-game losing streaks. And the game on Sunday, as we sort of laid out yesterday, was one of those, if you believe in the quote-unquote scheduled loss, that was one. Team had absolutely no gas. Listen, they've had one day off and they traveled yesterday, so I'm not sure how refreshed they're going to be today, but they're going to need to be ready against an Ottawa team that is playing for their lives right now to try to get back into the mix, and they've done a pretty good job of that over the course of the last month or so after a horrible start. But let's focus in on the Jets and of course, the opposition tonight. Rick Bowness, of course, his son, Ryan, the assistant GM of the Ottawa Senators in town. And Bones, let's go to number 2, Reem. Bones did talk about the challenge that the Sens are bringing to Canada Life Centre tonight for his Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, well, because of Ryan's involvement, I've watched more Ottawa's games than I have in a long time. If they're on, I'm watching, and they've played really well lately. They when they were losing earlier, they were playing hard. They were playing well. They weren't getting that timely goal, that timely save that we talk a lot about. So I've watched a lot of their games this year, and they're very impressive. The DJ's done a wonderful job there, and they're going to come out tonight. They're a bunch of kids with a lot of talent. Brady's a wonderful captain. He leads by example. Like, they've got a lot of good things going for them right there now, and they're going to be very tough tonight. They're tough to play against. They got a lot of skill, a lot of speed.
All right, so there's Bones talking about the Sens, and we'll get a little bit more on the Senators a little later on with Jon Abbott. But I'm 14-15-2, Reem. They're just 30 points in 31 games. They're 8th place in the Atlantic Division, but again, they're only 4 points back of the Buffalo Sabres, who are in 4th right now. Certainly, it seems like the Metropolitan is a much stronger division. I mean, you got to go all the way down. 38 points is 6th place. So right now, it sort of seems like both of the wild cards are coming out of the Met. But I think we expect more from the Florida Panthers. The Buffalo Sabres are really playing well lately. Big win last night in Vegas. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. But right now it's sort of Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay. I think we can lock those teams in for a playoff spot right now. So all of those teams, including the Ottawa Senators, need to, make a run and get closer to that 38, so 4, 5, 6 games above 500 to start sniffing around that playoff line. That being said, Reem, it's a hell of a lot better of a situation than it was for the Sens about a month ago when they were, I think, at 1.6 games below 500, if I'm not mistaken, and really struggling out of the gate despite the high expectations they came in with.
The curse of being the offseason champions. I remember Dallas a couple of years ago. They were the offseason champions, and it was the next year they got to the Stanley Cup final. Winnipeg, offseason champions last year. Miserable season. Now they're doing pretty good. Ottawa, offseason champions this year. Got off to a slow start. They're seemingly shopping around for a defenseman. But they picked him. They did dodge a bullet, Huss. Was 2 weeks ago or last week where Tim Stützle went into, I think he took an awkward hit. And I think he's going to be back a bit sooner than they thought. And I know DeBrincat, he was pretty hot last week. So watch out for Ottawa. I do think it will be a tough task for the Jets. This is kind of like the spot in the schedule where, they have had avoided injury for so long. They're catching up. Now they're talking about fatigue. I mean, we saw it on Sunday, and I think even on the Wednesday game, they had to dig pretty deep to pull out that win against Nashville. So I think all Canadian matchup, I always enjoy too, Huss, when two Canadian teams play each other that TSN has the rights for, because you feel like you get a bigger broadcast. I don't know what we're gonna get from TSN, but it does seem that way where they play, Montreal, Ottawa, or Toronto.
Yeah, get a little bit of run on That's Hockey with Gino before the game. Just that. And listen, now that the Mitch Marner point streak has stopped, I mean, that's about 20 minutes of the 30 minutes of broadcasting that has now been opened up to the rest of the Canadian teams on that show as well. But back to the Winnipeg Jets, and we'll talk about this more with Ken and JT when he comes up. But Ville Heinola is in the lineup tonight, and Ville Heinola is also going to be getting an opportunity on the second power play unit. Although I have to admit, Reem, with Scheifele, Morrissey, Connor, Perfetti, and Dubois on the power play unit, I have a feeling that we might be back into a situation like we were in the past where that number one power play unit might be on for a minute and a half, a minute 40, and there might be just sort of crumbs left because, I mean, so many of the top offensive players right now for the Winnipeg Jets that are able to be in the lineup are already on that PP1.
Yeah, here's the lines going forward here. We got Connor, Dubois, Gagne, Perfetti, Scheifele, Kuhlman, Barron, Lowry, Harkins, Gustafsson, Stenny, Janssen, Fjallby, Morrissey, DeMello, Dylan Pionk, Sandberg, Heinola there. And I agree with you. Just look at the injuries. You look at the roster. We're in a situation where you got to go heavy on PP1, and they've been so good. And I am curious to see Cole Perfetti get an opportunity there. I mean, PP2, it's Gagne, Pionk, Heinola, Stenlund, and Lowry. So, yeah, I think you're going heavy PP1.
Stenny getting a little bit of a look on PP2.
Well, yeah,
deserve it.
And Ken noting that Stenny and Lowry alternated between in the slot and net front. Those are two big boys there with the veteran Sam Gagne. So yeah, I do think heavy PP1, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the Jets, if they can get back on track here after the loss.
Let's talk a little bit more about Ville Heinola. Let Rick Bowness talk a little bit more about Ville Heinola. He talked about, or was asked about what he and the team can do to, provide Ville an opportunity to be comfortable out there with the Winnipeg Jets, getting back into the lineup tonight.
Well, we've got to be clear with him what we expect from him and encourage him. In fairness to him, if you remember his first game when we brought him up last time was against Carolina. Last time it was the biggest, fastest forechecking team. That's a tough opponent your first game in. So he got a little nervous and his gap started to get a little bad. So the next game he was better and he battled harder in the corners. And so we try to build off of his last game here, which was pretty good. And again, Ottawa's a good team. They're going to come at him tonight, but if he uses his speed and moves the puck and everything and keep his gaps tight, he'll be fine. It'll be a good test for him.
Yeah, so nice opportunity for Ville Heinola, and that's certainly, I mean, with the absence of Nate Schmidt, having the opportunity to presumably quarterback a power play unit, we'll see how much that unit gets out there. Something that really does play into the strengths of the Jets' first-round pick. Bones expanded a little bit more on Heinola's situation with the club and was asked on how Ville and what he can do to stay in the lineup.
He's a great skater. He's got to use that, get back. He's got to move the puck quick and make that first pass on the tape as quick as we can. So he needs some help from the forwards there to buy some time so he can go back, but use his assets, his skating and his puck handling and his hockey IQ. Move the puck, get up and join the rush and help the power play. That's what we're expecting him tonight. But again, he's a great skater. He's got to go back and get the puck and let's get going. We don't want to stop. We don't want to play slow. We want him to get back and get the puck and keep coming up.
Hey, we all know the D are coming, and Ville Heinola will be part of that D core tonight for the Winnipeg Jets. Now, a couple other clips we want to get to from Bones. I mean, needless to say, nervous moments this morning when we heard about a goalie recall. Best case scenario, Connor Hellebuyck just not feeling too well. They told him to stay away from the team, stay home, feel better, enjoy a day with your kids. But man, they've been piling up. And, we spoke yesterday about what Blake Wheeler's absence was going to mean for this team, the top six, the power play unit. We're already seeing the trickle down of that right here today. But Bones expanded a little bit on the injuries his team's dealing with right now and getting through this grind of a December schedule, the busiest of their year.
Look around the league, man. There's a lot of guys hurt. There's a lot of games. You start playing 5 games in 7 days and 4 games in 6 nights and it's travel. You guys get tired. They're not robots. They're humans, and their body's going to get tired. And you're going to go on the ice tired some nights, and you're going to go on the ice not feeling great. And maybe you're playing a team that sat there for the last couple of days, and they have more rest. They have more energy. They're ready to come at you. Like, those things are all part of playing in the National Hockey League. And when you get to a busy part of your schedule, you hope you're healthy to get, because it'll help you get through it. If you get to the busy part of your schedule and you have injuries, then everything just gets magnified. But everyone's going to have a tough part of the schedule. And again, when you get there, you hope you're healthy. And again, if you're playing teams that have been off for a couple of days, or they're really healthy and they're rested and you're tired, then the chances of getting injured out there are going way up.
Why? Why is that?
Because they're tired. I mean, there's no...
So you're just loose, you tweak a knee, or you're just not fully behind yourself?
Yeah, you just get hit more than you probably normally get hit, and you're a little late getting there, so there's more contact, and it's all timing.
All right, so there's Rick Bowness just discussing some of the injuries that the team has been going through. But as he mentioned, Remo, it's certainly not just here in Winnipeg. It really is happening all around the league, and I think anyone that looked, and saw what the Winnipeg Jets were going to be dealing with from a games played perspective in the month of December knew that this would be the most challenging stretch of the entire season. And frankly, it's that much more impressive the way they've been able to stay near and at the top of the Central Division, despite so many important players being out of the lineup. I'm not sure many people would have had the confidence in this club of being able to play at the level that they have been, missing all of these key players a couple months ago.
Yeah, and I'll bring up the schedule right now, Huss. I mean, you're basically playing it every second night. There's a bunch of back-to-backs. We try not to make excuses, but I mean, look at this. You're kind of pushing
3 straight weeks with 4 games in a week. I mean, I don't know if I can ever remember that, to be honest.
Yeah, so it's pretty jam-packed. You get a couple days this weekend, for Christmas, and they'll be back on Tuesday against Minnesota. But you got to get through Ottawa, Boston, Washington, nice back-to-back, and again, 1 game every second day. It's pretty wild, and you're definitely seeing injuries around Lake Colorado. Basically had everyone. And you have to wonder, like, how much is that is because they play so long going to the Cup final. Like, what's the cost of that? And I know Toronto's got everyone on defense hurt. So the Jets' turn, and they seem to be managing it. And I am looking forward to seeing what we're going to get tonight against Ottawa.
Hey, JB Thomas is going to join us in just a second. But before we do that, I just want to play this one other clip from Bones from this morning. Number 6, Reem, if you can. This is Bones on managing fatigue. I mean, this is something they've been doing for a number of weeks, and we'll talk to Jamie about that and what he's seen being with the team on the road. And, of course, managing fatigue and coming out of Sunday's loss against the Kraken in Seattle.
One of the things I talked to the players today, clearly we went into Seattle with the schedule we have and everything. Our guys worked very hard in Seattle. I gave them a lot of credit for that. Did we make some mental mistakes? Yeah, because this gets tired. It's not just the physical toll, it's that as well. And do we complicate the game and make it a little harder on ourselves than we should have? Absolutely we did. But we worked hard. I was proud of the way they worked hard right till the end. And I told them that's what we talked about today. Sometimes you get there and, we're tired, we don't feel like it, and we'll just get through the game. We didn't have that attitude at all. Now, we didn't look good at times, but we were working and we were trying and we were competing. So that's the message from the coaching staff is just keep working. We'll get through this. We'll sort it all out. But the fight never left them, and that's what I was impressed with the group.
All right, good stuff from Bones. We'll chop it up with Jamie Thomas and Ken Wiebe, as well as talk a little bit more about the visitors tonight with the play-by-play voice of the Sens, Jon Abbott, a little later on in the program. Don't forget, Marble Race, your chance to win 2023 Bomber season tickets coming up at the end of the show, brought to you by Consolidated Supply. Folks, you still have some time to get in a nomination for an unsung hero with our program with Wallace & Wallace and Jet star defenseman Josh Morrissey. If you have missed it, we've teamed up with Wallace & Wallace and Josh to honor some of the unsung heroes in our community. And right now at the Christmas season, there are plenty of them doing great work, whether it be charity, whether it be volunteering, whether it be delivering hampers, organizing things to help people's Christmas, make it a little bit better for those in need. And we want to hear about them. If you know of somebody that is spending time volunteering or taking time out of their busy schedule to brighten the holidays for others, let us know about them. Unsung hero at winnipegsportstalk.com. Please send us an email. We already had Peter and Paulette. They're big winners from the November Unsung Hero program. We'll announce another winner in early January. The winner will get an autographed jersey from Jet star Josh Morrissey. Wallace & Wallace will donate $500 to the Dream Factory in the WST listener's name that nominated them. And to make it even better, Josh and Margot Morrissey are going to match that donation as well. So $1,000 for the Dream Factory. But what we want from you is nominees for these people that are doing great volunteer work and charity work right now around the holidays for the Unsung Hero program. Again, the email is unsunghero@winnipegsportstalk.com. Send us that and we'll stay on top of this and let you know who our next winner is in early January. Mentioned Consolidated Supply, our great friends providing maybe the biggest event on WST all year, the Tournament of Champions with the Marble Race. Of course, the Bomber 2023 season tickets are available right now. We'll give them away on December 30th. Be sure to be with us at the end of the show to qualify. Registration opens at 2:45. And in the meantime, if you haven't already, pop down and see Consolidated Supply, 1395 Niagara Road East. They are open to the public. You really need to get in there to see everything they've got, including custom golf carts, outdoor kitchens, all sorts of things to make your backyard incredible, not to mention something that might come in very handy right now, and that is a hot tub with how cold it is right now. Consolidated Supply, everything is up with what they do, including small engine parts, which you might not have known. CTE.ca online, and Consolidated Supply is at 1395 Niagara Road East. It's freezing outside. It's going to be that way for the next little while. Is your car starting? Well, hopefully it is. If it isn't, I know who can help you out, and that is Donnie and his great staff down at Manitoba Battery. Listen, you already know that when you're dealing with Manitoba Battery, you're shopping local and you're getting the best price in town on batteries of all sorts. But for right now, while we're worrying about the cars starting, getting from point A to point B, Manitoba Battery has you covered, and they're the only place in town where you can save time and money by simply giving them a call or ordering online, and they will deliver that battery to you, saving both time and money, and of course the gas to get down to 1026 Logan Avenue. If you do want to test a battery, they can do that for you as well. Obviously, they'd love to see you in store. But right now, if you've got a battery issue, just give them a phone call or hit them up online at manitobabattery.com. They'll deliver it to you same day if they get the order in by 3 p.m. And hey, save time, save money. That's what it's all about, right? And of course, shopping local. Big happy holidays to our friends over at Manitoba Battery. And just before we bring in JT, if you're stuck for maybe some Christmas gifts for some people on your list, why not think about Vita Health Fresh Market? Listen, they already have great prices on natural and organic supplements, beauty products, and groceries. A lot of those supplements can really help you right now, maybe stay off the injured reserve, getting sick. But with the holiday season here, why not give the gift of health? Vita Health has great gift options, including essential oils, candles, artisan soaps, bath bombs, lotions, chocolates, you name it, and tons of your favorite holiday food items like stuffing, cranberry sauce, non-alcoholic wines and drinks, perfect for entertaining at this time of year. And hey, you can also pre-order your natural free-run turkey in-store today. Vita Health Fresh Market, empowering people to lead healthy lives. 7 Winnipeg locations, including the newest store in Linden Ridge, and online at myvita.ca. All right, let's bring in Jamie Thomas from 680 CJOB Jets Radio and Jets TV. Jamie, happy holidays to you, and welcome back for, 36 hours?
It's what a stupid schedule. Like, the players and coaches can't really say it, but I'll say it. It's a stupid schedule. Like, who puts a team on the West Coast, starts with 7 local, then makes them play the next night at 5 o'clock, 22 hours later, comes home for 1, then goes to the other coast to play Boston, Washington. Like, it's beyond idiocy. So, I mean, if I'm tired, I can't even imagine how exhausted these guys are, especially with the flu bug or whatever it is that's going through the room right now. Bones was right. The toughness they showed mentally on Sunday against Seattle can't be said enough, because they just played well under really trying circumstances, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that was a real tough spot. And of course, coming off a game the night before where they looked awesome. Listen, I mean, you're with the team every day, and I mean, we've kind of heard that some guys have been sick, and Rick mentioned last week there's been some players on the IV. I mean, obviously, you don't have to name any names or anything like that, but how significant has this bug been around the team and, frankly, the traveling party as well?
Yeah, I think touching wood or somewhere around in here, it hasn't really hit too many people in the traveling party. Morgan Barron, I think, would be one of the players that we obviously know wasn't feeling very well. I talked to him today, and he said he just had a really annoying cough, and it took him about a week to get over it. And I think you're starting to see Morgan Barron look more like we've seen him when he's healthy. So the fact that Connor Hellebuyck has a non-COVID related illness too plays a role in this. But it's inevitable that we're all going to get sick. It's inevitable that guys are going to get hurt with the way the schedule is right now. 16 games the month of December. The way, we just talked about going to both coasts here this week, 5 games in 7 days. So I think at some point you're looking for the relief of Christmas for 3 days, and then hopefully the schedule slows down a little bit more. And I know that player break can't come soon enough in February. You just want to survive as long as you can. So it's, we know Pierre-Luc Dubois wasn't feeling well. Pretty sure Jansen Harkins was one of those guys, that wasn't in practice that one day. So without naming two people, there's some names there. And who knows who else isn't feeling at the top of their game right now that's been playing night after night that hasn't missed any time here. So it can't just only be those 4 players we're talking about.
Well, tonight we're talking about Connor Hellebuyck. And I have to say, listen, I know there's a protocol on the way things are going to be done, but just for the sake of all of Jet fans' sanity, if there ever is a game day and you're calling up a goaltender on emergency reserve, could it please be noted right in the tweet? Don't freak out, everyone. It's a non-COVID illness. Connor's just not feeling well. Those were some tense moments for this fan base for about 90 minutes until we heard from Rick Bowness that it's nothing to be too worried about. He's expected to be on the road.
Yeah, like, it's Christmas, so we have to have some more drama. That's the way it is, right? It's like, let's just send this out and watch the reaction afterwards. There's got to be something in there in the PR department that love it. There it is right there. I mean, that's just one of the many.
What's the emergency, Jamie?
What is going on?
Is Connor okay?
What is happening here? What did you guys do to him? What happened? What happened in Vancouver? He's not letting us on. So, I mean, there's a little bit of panic, and I can understand why. And, you know, we love everybody. Arvin Holm, tremendous individual. He's had a great year with the Manitoba Moose. This is no offense to him, but I can understand where that tweet kind of sends people into a panic. But as you saw, Rick Bowness letting everybody know, and there must be some satisfaction in being the head coach and just saying it's going to be okay.
Yeah, well, so, and I'll say this, and I'll bet that Big Save Dave's looking forward to getting back-to-back starts. I mean, let's face it, when you're the backup behind a guy that is leading the charge for the Vezina Trophy and should be in the Hart Trophy consideration, your opportunities to start sometimes are few and far in between. And I have a feeling they had thought that in no likelihood he would play that game in Seattle. And listen, I'm just speculating here, but, you know, with how much hockey this team's playing, you've got games tonight, games Thursday, in all likelihood going to get a start likely Wednesday or likely Friday in Washington. Who knows what this does to those two games? We'll get to that when we get there. But listen, he gets to get right back on the horse. And to be honest, I mean, we talked a lot about the game and, you know, some of the players that, you know, were obviously really fatigued in that game against the Kraken. I thought David Rittich played great. And even the goal that beat him at the end, I mean, a double deflection perfectly under the bar. I mean, absolutely no fault for the goaltender to pull a miracle out for that one.
You can even say that the Jets kind of threw to the Wolves on that one because you knew that the legs weren't going to be there. The short amount of time, the travel, you get into your hotel around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to have some tired legs there. So David Rittich is the guy and almost got them a point. That's, you know, Paul and I are calling the game. We're just looking at each other. Just get out of here with a point. That would be fantastic for this road trip, and especially with the odds that are stacked up against them on Sunday against the Kraken. But Dave Rittich was phenomenal. And I think this is more touching on how well the Jets have handled who their backup goaltender is going to be. There's always a question mark about who the backup goalie is. And, you know, Lauren Brossoit signs here and the eyebrow goes up. Is Eric Comrie's not ready for full NHL duty, right? He answered those questions. And so with that in mind, when Dave Rittich signed here, with whatever happened in Nashville, and to be fair to him, UC Saros played pretty much every night. I didn't really get a chance of getting into a groove. But Wade Flaherty has to be given some credit here as well for keeping Rittich sharp and on top of his game when he doesn't play that much. And the schedule plays a large role in this too. We're complaining about it, but it does help Dave Rittich get in there too. And it's allowed him to get on a bit of a roll. But credit to him, credit to Wade Flaherty for having him prepped and ready and being in game shape and being mentally ready as well. Because that's one of the toughest jobs in sports is being a backup goaltender in the National Hockey League because you just never know when things are going to happen or when you're going in half the time. So
well, it's a hell of a lot.
He was great, and I expected me. Oh, sorry about that.
I was just gonna say it's a hell. I mean, you're right, and it's a hell of a lot harder being the backup behind a guy like Connor Hellebuyck that's going to be getting rolled out as much as he is. And you know what the funny thing is, we've talked a lot about this December schedule. I'll bet David Rittich was the one guy that loved it because he knew that just. You got to give me a few starts this month, and he's getting an extra one tonight against an Ottawa team, Jamie, that has been much better over the course of the last 3-4 weeks than their underwhelming start with those high expectations.
Yeah, and I think what gets lost with Ottawa is they lose Josh Norris early in the season, their number one center. And, you know, if you think about where the Jets would be if they lose either Mark Scheifele or Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think that's been the shining light here. The Jets have had injuries, but not, as we do this again, knocking on something, nothing so much up the middle. And you haven't missed much from Adam Lowry, Mark Scheifele, and Pierre-Luc Dubois, and that's been one of the saving graces with this injury thing. But Ottawa lose their number one center. And I think what we also don't see is how challenging the Eastern Conference is. Like, who's backing off in the Atlantic? Like Tampa, Toronto, Boston aren't going anywhere. You already have those three spots pretty much locked in. Florida is going to come out of this at some point. And then you go with Buffalo's improving. So I think, you know, I was asking Jamie McLennan today, and did they start things a little too early, this push to get into the playoffs? And that was the answer, really, is just look at the Eastern Conference. It was going to be a battle anyways, regardless if they waited till next year to sign big name free agents and companies. So Ottawa is, you know, we saw from the 10 times that the Jets played them 2 years ago and last year, just whenever they come to, in particular Winnipeg, they're always ready. The Jets are in one when every time these guys come into town, and they have so much talent on the back end. I think the one hole really is their goaltending at some points. Cam Talbot was hurt earlier in the year, but Ottawa's starting to get things together. And we've heard Rick Bowness say numerous times, it's not what they did in October. It's what they've done the last 5-6 games that you should be worried about. And Ottawa's starting to get things rolling here, even without Tim Stützle in the lineup as well.
Yeah, and I know it's funny you say Florida because, I think we all expect them to be a playoff team. But, you look right now, both of the wild card teams are out of the Met right now with the Penguins and the Islanders. Buffalo now is actually tied with Florida with a game in hand on them. And the Detroit Red Wings have quietly had a pretty nice start, although they haven't been great in their last 10 games or so, and they've lost a bunch of overtime games. But they had a nice start, so at least they had a bit of the cushion. Ottawa did not have that cushion. They've been playing, I think, some desperate hockey to get back in. And I think the situation with the schedule, the opponent tonight, obviously not having Connor Hellebuyck, but this team's used to stepping up. That's what we've seen throughout this season, Jamie. They've only lost 2 in a row, twice all season long. And I thought really bounced back with a strong performance against Nashville, heading into a dominant performance against Vancouver on the weekend. But there will be a little bit of a different look tonight. Number one, Ville Heinola is coming in. We just heard some of Rick Bowness's comments. This is a big chance for Ville. We knew that there probably wasn't going to be consistent playing time coming for the young Finn until the inevitable injuries piled up on the blue line. Well, we're here right now. Logan Stanley's out for the better part of a month. Nate Schmidt's 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not sure that Ville Heinola has ever had a better chance, certainly under Rick Bowness, and maybe even dating back to last year, of going in and planting his flag in the ground that he can be a reliable, consistent NHL defenseman. And not only that, but he'll also get a chance to show what he can do in the second power play unit as well.
Yeah, and that's where, so you already have Josh Morrissey, Neil Pionk, and then Nate Schmidt. So what Ville does well, as we know, is he moves the pucks really quickly. Needs some help from the forwards to help him in that aspect, but that's his bread and butter. He gets back quickly, can move the puck very well, great on the power play. But you have those 3 players I just mentioned. So there's no room for Ville. Ville's not a penalty kill specialist. That's not his fault. That's not his forte, whatever. But he's got to get, one of the other things he has to do is got to get at the puck quicker. He doesn't want to get in those battles in front of the net. He just has to get in there faster. That's the key. He's not a bigger sized defenseman, but to his credit, when he's called upon this year, he's played very well. And it's not easy to come up in the American League and not play for a little bit like he did. He just came off of sickness and didn't just get thrown in the lineup. So he's handled that very well. And that's part of being a professional. That's something he's got a lot better at. And we've seen Dylan Sandberg be out for a little bit, come back in. First period has a tough time and then gets back into the swing of things. So I expect, I don't think it's so much Ville who's got the pressure on, but this is a great opportunity. And I think the way he's played and the way he's matured over the past couple of years, I think he's going to handle this quite well. And I think we should also give Kyle Capobianco some credit too, right? He's played only 5 times this year, and he's had long stretches without playing, and he does very well too. So the Jets have been fortunate in the depth and the amount of defensemen that they have that are NHL ready that can play on a moment's notice, and that's another benefit. Another reason why they're sitting in this conversation of talking about first place in the Central Division, because the injuries hadn't slowed them down, especially on the back end.
Yeah, Capobianco had that heater on Saturday, got on the scoreboard, and I thought acquitted himself quite well. The other part of the power play that is going to look a little different is the Cole Perfetti moving into the top unit where Blake Wheeler had been. And for Cole, he is a player that I think is made for the power play. The way he sees the ice, his ability to dish. And we were sort of speculating before, as much as people are excited to see, Ville Heinola's going to get a chance on the power play. I don't know, Jamie, when you look at the offensive firepower that the Jets are stacking on that PP1, I wouldn't be surprised if Rick Bowness has a little bit more leeway for a longer shift or leaving those guys out there, because basically you've got all the top scorers right now in the lineup on that unit, and great opportunity for Perfetti to show that he can be a lethal addition to that group.
Yeah, he kind of sits in that little slot area, kind of waiting for that quick pass from either Pierre-Luc Dubois or Kyle Connor there to clean up any rebounds. But Cole Perfetti, here's another guy every time he's been challenged, if he does something wrong, the next game he's altered that. He's changed it. He moves the puck a lot quicker. You know, you think of when he got benched in St. Paul, fix that right away. Saw some video, moves on to it. I marvel at this kid all the time. It's a great chance for him. And what it does too with you got two different looks. Like you can't tell, there's completely different looks with Lowry and Stenlund on the second power play lane with Sam Gagner too. So that's going to throw some teams off. Whether or not they get out there enough to do any damage, we'll have to see. But the power play and the penalty kill, the special teams have been great this year, and I don't expect it to be any different, even though Blake Wheeler is such a key cog on that first power play unit. And looking forward to see how Cole Perfetti shows off what he can do with the number one power play unit.
We've obviously talked a lot about Big Stan, Logan Stanley, who's out of the lineup. Did Big Sten, Kevin Stenlund, look as good in person as he did on TV? I've been really impressed with what he's brought since he got called up.
Yeah, at one point I think he was 8-1 in the face-off circles. That's why you saw him a lot towards the end of the game in the dot. And
that'll earn you bonus points with Rick Bowness very quickly, because that's been one of the things that he hasn't been pleased with his team so far this year.
No, and for good reason. It's what gets them in trouble sometimes. The penalty kill is not winning faceoffs, and that's, he openly said David Gustin had to win more faceoffs. That's why he got pushed to the wing, and that's why Kevin Stenlund got pulled up. But one part with Kevin Stenlund is that Rick Bowness told us what he's seeing now, how he's on the puck a lot longer. He's making good decisions with it. He's using his body. He said he didn't see that in training camp, so he gave full credit. Again, we've heard this a lot. But Mark Morrison, the Wizards down in the American Hockey League are doing such a great job with these guys when they come down and preparing them for the National Hockey League again, whether for the first time or for a second time or third time. They have to be getting a lot of the credit too. But Kevin Stenlund looks a completely different player than he did in the preseason. I know there wasn't a lot of opportunities for him, but he's starting to look like the player that Pierre-Luc Dubois looked like when we had him on the podcast. And he raved about him. He said, "You're going to love this guy." They played together in Columbus. Now you're starting to see why. And he just uses his size so well, makes smart plays, very good at the penalty kill. And the most important part, as you touched on, us is winning faceoffs. And to see him out there when the game's on the line at the end of the third period was something else. And he's got to keep it up, but I don't expect anything less from him because he's been great since he's been back up from Manitoba. And you can see that confidence is starting to flow through him. And that fourth line, the all-Swede line, has been very effective.
Well, tonight is the final game before Christmas, and it is the holiday extravaganza. I know the game night crew and the marketing department were working on a ton of giveaways. I'm just reading this right now. Tons of giveaways, including large yard holiday blow-up ornaments, over 100 tickets for Jets and Moose games, skills competition tickets as well. But they're hoping that everyone will dress up in their best holiday costumes, elves, reindeer, or their best Christmas sweaters. What are the chances Santa himself is calling the game tonight on 680 CJOB alongside you?
Wouldn't that be awesome though? Like, I don't think, here's the thing. I bet you Edmonds doesn't even know where he is right now. Because like we're just bouncing around all the time. It's like,
what city are we in? There's my family.
It's like, he's like, it's showtime from downtown. Where are we, JT? Boston, Paul. Downtown Boston. That's Edmund's joke, and it was legendary. I was like howling in the media room today. So, man, if he dressed up like Santa, I know John Lou was trying to get Dan Robertson to wear a Christmas sweater. I don't think that's going very well right now, but I know Johnny Lou is going to look really good at some point. He's going to deliver because he is by far the best dressed individual of all the broadcast people. Sarah Lesky was standing, of course, but Johnny Lou is going to deliver today. I can't wait to see his ugly Christmas sweater.
Oh my God, Lou's holiday drip. Listen, that is going to be must see. I'm PVRing the game just so I can see that, even though I will be at the game tonight. But we should mention, folks, if you do have a Santa suit, throw that on tonight. You'll probably be very findable for some of the giveaways they're giving tonight. But I think they're also going to take 4 Santas from the crowd and do a Santa race for an autographed Jets jersey by the team at halftime. So it should be good. Holiday vibes around the club. And wouldn't it be nice to leave the building tonight and head back on the road with another win, Jamie? Because holy smokes, these final 2 games of this meat grinder of a December pre-Christmas schedule, not getting any easier, with the best team in the league, the Boston Bruins, awaiting them Thursday night, and then a trip to Washington, Alexander Ovechkin, the Capitals, who we saw what a quality team they were a couple Sundays ago here in the Peg.
Yeah, I think there'll be some, you're hoping there's something left for that game against Washington, because I know the Jets felt they played well enough towards the end to win that game. But here's hoping Ovechkin is already taking 8:01 and 8:02. They play in Ottawa on Thursday. So the Washington will be the second game in many nights as well. So hopefully Ovechkin gets that out of his system before the Jets play him on Friday. But it's a great opportunity. Can't wait to see how the Bruins look up close and personal. Those games are never boring, Huss. You know that over the years of seeing Boston and Washington play against each other. Never boring in the slightest. So it's as much of a meat grinder as it is, still some great hockey before the holidays.
Well, I mean, yeah, that game Thursday, and we'll get to that tomorrow and Thursday, but I mean, what a great chance. I mean, you'd love to maybe be a little bit closer to full strength when you're testing yourself against the best team in the league, but listen, what they've got going on, Jim Montgomery and the Boston Bruins have had an amazing first half of the season. That'll be good. But tonight, an all-Canadian matchup between the Jets and the Ottawa Senators should be good. Hey, just before we go, I know we've got fantasy playoffs going on right now. I know you pay close attention to the NFL.
What would Taco League do? Semifinalists, the Big Red, going at it.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Kid in the semifinals. So
hey, I was talking about this with Dustin Nielsen earlier, that maybe the all-time worst beats in the history of fantasy football happened with that final play in the Raiders-Patriots game. Were you possibly watching that? I mean, when you think about it, I knew a guy, or I didn't know a guy, but I saw their score where he had Jacoby Myers, so he lost the 2 points for the fumble, and his opponent had the Raiders defense, and he ended up losing by 1 on that play. I mean, I think the rest of our life will never see as bizarre a play to finish up an NFL game with the amount of fantasy implications that one had.
Time of year is terrible. In our league, what would Taco League do, or what would Taco do league? One of our teams had Green Bay's defense special teams. They went to bed thinking they won. They woke up this morning, they took away a point or something, or half a point. So the other team he was facing went on to the semifinals. And I got one more on top of that, besides Jacoby Myers. Remember when Deshaun Jackson on Monday Night Football was playing the Cowboys and he was about to cross the goal line and he threw the football away? How many people got screwed on that play, Huss? And I know it wasn't fantasy playoff time, but I remember the irate people online about that play from Deshaun Jackson. It was stupid enough in real life, but the fantasy implications on that play alone was like immeasurable.
The funniest thing about that Deshaun Jackson play is he did the same stupid thing in college as well. I mean, that was like his move. Drop the ball before the goal line. It's
How do I time this? 3-2. No. Oh, yeah. And then fantasy madness everywhere.
Well, listen, I'm focused in on the Jets for the next couple days, but Big Red will be ready for the semis. And in all seriousness, best of the season to you and your family. Thanks so much for doing this, Jamie. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys back for a little home cooking and some great games post-Christmas here with the Minnesota Wild starting things off next Tuesday. Have a great one and travel safe out east.
Thanks, buddy. Merry Christmas to you and Remis.
You got it. Thanks so much. There it is, Jamie Thomas. Of course, you can hear Jamie and Paul call all the games on Jets Radio 680 CJOB. We'll continue our Jets talk with Wiebe's World himself, Ken Wiebe, coming up in just a couple of minutes. Before we do that, do have to thank our friends at Not AutoCorp for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. If you're thinking about a new vehicle or looking to upgrade your current one, start your search down at Not. Amazing vehicles on the lot right now. And if there's a particular make and model that you got your heart set on, let them know. They'll find it, source it, and get you into it at the best possible price. Not AutoCorp, Waverly and McGillivray, and of course online at not.ca. We were just talking with Greg and the gang over at Royal Sports. Man, they've been busy right now, but for good reason, because it's maybe the best store anywhere. And considering Christmas is coming up, they've got more amazing holiday gift deals and ideas than you can imagine. You can take care of so much with one stop over at Royal Sports. While you're there, make sure to check out all of the new Winnipeg Sports Talk hats and toques that are available. You can also check out our website at winnipegsports.com/store if you're out of the Winnipeg area. But certainly the easiest way is to pop down to Royal Sports. Jets retro reverse jerseys, tons of great bomber gear, thousands of pieces of Jets merchandise, World Soccer, World Cup kits, Blue Jays, Raptors, all of it. But if you're looking for some unique gift ideas, check the amazing Yeti section that they have. Everyone knows that Yeti makes the best thermoses, coolers in the business, and they have so many different options right when you walk in. If you're stuck for somebody, especially someone that likes to do a lot of things outdoors, especially in the summer, check out that Yeti section down at Royal Sports. It's all there for you. 750 Pembina Highway. As I always say, follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Pembina. Their stories lately have had so many great gift ideas. Might put a little spark in the brain and help you take some of the stress out of the Christmas season. And hey, another great gift idea is F Apparel. I know Michael Remis was down there today getting fitted out for some more new digs. Hey, listen, they've got the best custom suits in town at the best prices beginning at $400 and so many other great things for menswear, including chinos, golf pants for the upcoming season, custom shirts, men's accessories, and more. And they've also got a big boxing week sale coming up beginning, of course, on the 26th. All custom clothing, suits, dress shirts, etc. will be 20% off the rack items, 30% off, and all accessories, 50% off. The sale runs in store and online from December 26th to December 31st. So amazing deals. And hey, right now, up until Christmas, a $100 gift card gets you a 15% bonus. So you get $115 for $100. F Apparel, 190 Smith Street downtown. Check them out online and more at F. That's EPHapparel.com. And hey, just before we bring Kenny in, got to give a big shout out to our friends at the Nick and Nicky DQ. 4 locations: DQ Niverville, DQ Northgate, DQ Polo Park, and DQ St. Anne's. And if you're bored or tired with the normal Christmas dessert, why not do what I'm going to do, and that's get a DQ ice cream cake for the family for the big gathering on the 25th. Of course, you can hit them up on Instagram at DQ Manitoba if you want to get something custom made. They'll get it for you, whatever you need and want on it, for a quick and easy pickup at any of the 4 Nick and Nicky DQs, or just pop into any of the 4 custom ready-to-go cakes at all 4 Nick and Nicky DQ locations, and nothing better than a DQ ice cream cake. And while you're there, you can grab one of their amazing stack burgers for the road. All right. Let's continue our Jets conversation today. Shout out to everyone in chat, by the way. Does F do Santa suits? F can probably do anything you want, Bravo Bra. I would not at all be surprised if you could get at least a Santa themed suit, or just a suit with Santa all over it, or on the inside, like with those custom inside, like I got with the WST one in the suit that I got a couple months ago. So yeah, all there. But we will talk more about the Sens a little later on with Jon Abbott. And I know Remo's got some more coming up. Don't forget Marble Race 245 registrations open. But right now, a holiday visit from the jolliest of the jolly, the well-hydrated Ken Wiebe, who joins us now on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Weber, what's up? How are you?
It's great to be with you. I'm just curious, in our relationship, would I be Ryan Reeves and you be Kirill Kaprizov, or would it be the opposite when we're going with the Santa and the elf? I'm not sure which way we would go there, but I think, happy to go either way. Happy to come off the bench. We know we've had some travel woes for our pal Mike McIntyre, but sounds like he's going to make it back for the game. So good news all around. Great to be with you. And you know what? In the holiday spirit, Huss, we had a great. I'm gonna have to tell you, we had a great day on Sunday, and there's some great cross-pollination because a lot of the people that were at their first Kenny and Rennie live event were proud WST watchers and listeners. So I thought I would share that both with you and with the good folks that are in the chat already.
Well, I have to admit, I have to apologize for not being in attendance. I had a day. I had an all-time day on Sunday. And it started at 9 a.m. with the World Cup final. And
yes,
the festivities continued, and with it being cold. And I know you guys were already full which is shout out to all the Kenny and Rennie listeners that went and packed the room over at TCB. A great way to go. And let me tell you, and I speak to this not as a friend, but just as a loyal listener and viewer of the Kenny and Rennie show. Shout out to both you guys for getting each other new mics in advance of Christmas, because you're sounding better than I think you ever have on the program, Ken.
Thank you. I had to borrow my mic to Mr. Billick for the first 20 minutes of the show. So my mic wasn't sounding quite as solid as normal, but it was a good Christmas gift for both of us there. The sound, it's a lot better than having the lawnmower rolling on for the home games, and in a festive atmosphere like it was on Sunday at the Christmas party. We definitely needed those the mics. We got some of the background noise, but it wasn't overpowering, so it was just awesome. But yeah,
Kim Sawchuk saying Kenny and Rennie and TCB were most excellent hosts. Thank you. And listen, we've done it a few times. There's nothing better than getting the whole gang together and getting a chance to put some names to faces, to internet avatars and whatnot. Yes. So it was great. And listen, I mean, the game.
Quick one. Next one that we have, one of the patrons suggested the name tags. So you get with the online persona plus the actual name. Hi, my name is blank. That's what we're gonna go with last time. Maybe you and I go halvers on the name tags just to keep the cost down.
Don't worry. We can make an executive decision and splurge for some name tags for our next event. Ken, this is an interesting spot, and we've spent a lot of time talking about the schedule. And I mean, I don't like to focus on and kind of have preconceived or excuses before the game. That was something we got a lot of back in previous years. And I think it's been the no nonsense and no excuses mantra of Rick Bowness has done this team very, very well. All that being said, this is a real tough spot and a real tough week for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, first off, what did you think of the team in Seattle? I mean, it was hard not to see a team that was literally running on fumes by the time that third period finished up.
Yeah, bang on, Huss. There's a difference between excuses and reasons, in my humble opinion. And 16-30 is a taxing enough stretch for a roster with full health. When you have 6 players and on IR, and now a 7th and most important member of the team now unavailable. I mean, it's a factor, but it can't be an excuse for how the team plays. So I think for the most part, I would agree with Rick Bowness's assessment. I would say there was plenty of effort there in Seattle. But outside of the 2 power play goals, the Jets just weren't able to generate much. And there's a reason for that. They had no legs. So there are going to be, much as people hate to hear it, there's going to be a handful of games over the course of the year when a team doesn't have its legs. They were, good on them and full marks for getting themselves in a position to be in the lead thanks to their power play, 1-5-on-3 goal, 1-5-on-4 goal. But if you can't generate, Huss, you got to defend a little bit better. And that's where the early goal into the third period, 16 seconds in, that's a breakdown that can't happen. And, in terms of the game winner, you could probably, there's like plenty of faults. That was just one of those things where the brain wasn't working and the hands weren't working, and they started behind the net, chip around the boards, didn't work out, and then just not great coverage. So that one kind of was one of those where the little piece of string kind of started to unravel, and by the time the puck ended up bar down from Jared McCann, you had the entire roll of the wool basically had unraveled the entire spool on that play. And the Jets had a couple opportunities maybe to maybe get the equalizer, but I just think that was one of those where the mind may have been willing, but the body said no. But having said that, I love the fact that Mark Scheifele said they needed to be better. And that's one of those games, Huss, where the Jets have hung around enough that you thought in a one-shot game, maybe you get one burst of speed from a Kyle Connor, or you get a Pierre-Luc Dubois getting around someone, or you get a Mark Scheifele getting open, or maybe one of those complimentary scores that we've seen, like an Adam Lowry, whether they can bank one in or just go hard to the net and maybe make something happen. But they just didn't have it, both defensively or offensively, and also with their legs. But having said that, 3 out of 4, 3 games in 4 days coming up this week. Nobody cares if there are injuries that they're playing. Nobody cares if you're Ottawa and you've won 4-5 and you're trying to scratch and claw for every point you get. They don't care that 6-7 guys are out. They think the same way that probably Jets thought when Vegas rolled through town. This is an opportunity. And for the Jets, it's an opportunity to get back to what we've seen all year long, to respond. It's an opportunity to respond to a game where you don't have your legs. You're going to face Boston's the best team in the NHL right now. And Washington just managed to get themselves above the playoff line for the first time in several weeks or almost months. So, you got two desperate teams, and one who is the entire gold standard in the NHL this year. So it's a big test on a lot of fronts for the Jets. It's a big opportunity for David Rittich. So obviously going back to back for the first time this season. I thought one of the things that kind of got overlooked, and I know people sort of looking just at the normal boxcar stats. I mean, Rittich gave up 3 again. I mean, Rittich's the reason that it was a game.
Oh, he was
and that the
awesome
Jets had
on
a chance.
Sunday, Ken. And the goal,
exactly.
and the goal. And listen, just to kind of backtrack to what you were saying about that third period, I mean, it was unfortunate to give up that tying goal so early. The Jets were really in hanging on mode, and it took, almost an act of God. A double deflection off the bar and down to actually beat David Rittich for that goal with just over 4 minutes left. So I've got full marks to David Rittich for the way he played in that game. And I think that bodes well if you were ever going to have a scare with Connor Hellebuyck or have him unavailable. To be honest, coming off a performance like that very recently might be a good thing. I expect good things from Big Save Dave tonight.
Yeah, I think he's going to be ready. And if you're a backup goalie, or even if you're a 1B, we saw it with Laurent Brossoit. The 1 year where he got to play back to back, I think against the Devils and then against Pittsburgh or whatever. I think the scenario, the rotation was there. Those guys love to, you're not going to get a ton of opportunities, Huss. So if you get a chance to get it, getting into a rhythm is a foreign concept to most backup goalies. So now the fact that he's able to play 2 days later, I think he's probably eager and fired up and ready to go. And we know there's a back-to-back on Thursday, Friday. That's where I'll be really curious, Huss. Depending on the severity of the illness, we know obviously Connor's under the weather. I wonder if going into the Christmas break, I would have always said before that Rittich maybe gets one for sure. And I think he still might, but I'm curious if the Jets will have some temptation. The only reason I think they won't have the temptation of going back to back with Hellebuyck, Huss, is because coming right out of the break, they're playing the Minnesota Wild. So you have this big divisional game right away. So, it'll be interesting to see. But for Rittich, I'm with you. I thought he was very good on Sunday night. I think he's had basically one bad period out of the majority of his starts. The other time he gave up multiple goals. I don't blame him at all for that effort either. There are a couple of bad back checks, and there was one that bounced off the skate of Dubois. So for me, David Rittich has answered all the critics, and I understand it's a small sample size and everything else, but he can only play the games that are asked of him. I think he's been excellent, except with the exception of, like I said, one period. And that one period, the team in front of him wasn't very good. And then he compounded the problem by basically handing over the puck. I think it was to Eichel, right, on the turnover, right?
Yeah.
That made a three goal period, a 4 goal period.
After the third goal had gone in on that strange thing off. Listen, it was a miserable period for the team and for him to start off. But since then, when a lot of people said, we're done with that guy after 20 minutes. He's come back very well, but he's going to need to be good tonight, Ken, because I think we know you kind of laid out what Ottawa's going through right now with some better play as of late, and they absolutely have to get on a roll if they want to be playing meaningful games coming down the stretch. But this spot in between the back-to-backs on the road on the West Coast and the back-to-backs with Boston and Washington, you got this one, like the guys come home, they do a quick set of laundry, they come to the rink. This is one of those games that is a dangerous game, and it's compounded by all of the injuries the Jets have been dealing with. We spoke on Friday before we knew the severity of what had happened to Blake Wheeler and Nate Schmidt. But man, we've gone from a serious injury issue with the Winnipeg Jets with players like Appleton and Ehlers out and Logan Stanley to compounding it all with Blake Wheeler, particularly, and Nate Schmidt. We'll get to Ville Heinola on the blue line in a minute, but what do you make of the top 6 right now without Blake Wheeler, who's going to be the guy? Like, I don't know about you. I don't really think Carson Kuhlman's going to be a long-term solution while those guys are out, in the top 6 right now. And the power play looks interesting. Like, I'm not sure it'll take a big step back, but it's the depth of what that does to the second power play unit with Cole Perfetti moving up the front that will be a very different look in a few ways tonight when we drop the puck at Canada Life Center.
Yeah, no doubt, Huss. It's it's interesting, right? I mean, there's options available to Rick Bowness, but he doesn't have there's not a lot of obvious options. So to me, Morgan Barron is probably going to be the next guy to get the bump. Morgan Barron or Jansen Harkins, to me, would be the next guy. But I think that Bowness loves what he's seen from that third line. Now, and I understand folks will be going, oh, well, why wouldn't you hurt the third line in order to help the first or the second line? Well, I mean, it's not always that simple because it's the role that third line plays. But however, I do think that at some point having Kuhlman go down and play on a checking line with Lowry makes sense, or having Kuhlman go to the fourth line makes some sense also. There's not a lot of, naturally gifted players. Kuhlman is a guy who works incredibly hard. So Huss, I think people are looking and saying, well, he's not skilled enough to play with those guys. Well, he's not being asked to be the guy that's the shooter on that line. He's being asked to be the guy that retrieves pucks, to get in on the forecheck, to create some separation, to do some of the dirty work, or
exactly what Mason Appleton did.
Right, exactly. So I think you have to look past how come this guy's waived by a team and then put on one of the top lines? Well, no, it's the role the player is being asked to do in that scenario. And the same goes for Sam Gagner. We've been talking about this for months, Huss. Gagner started on the fourth, worked his way up the lineup, worked his way down the lineup, out of the lineup, healthy scratch, back in. He's smart and he's creative and he's got good hands. So there are elements that you have to bring to the table. So when you have guys scoring at the clip that, Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor are, Sam Gagner works with them because he's a good distributor of the puck, right? So, and he's a conscientious player. So that's why he's there. But, longer term, they're going to need someone that's going to have to step up on the offensive side of things, but you still also need those guys to do the forechecking and to do the digging and to get to the blue paint. So that's why Kuhlman's there for now. He's got some good wheels also. But I'm with you, of course. I mean, the same thing I said about Sam Gagner. I don't see those guys going on a 25 to 30 game run in that scenario. That's just not where they're at that particular stage of for Gagner, his career, as he approaches 1,000 games. And for Kuhlman, he's not a young guy, but he's young in terms of experience. And he's more of a checking line forward, an energy guy. So, the Jets are just kind of trying to find some balance right now, Huss. But, you talked about the different looks in the power play. It's great that Cole Perfetti is getting a chance. Lots of people were wondering why Cole Perfetti didn't get a chance earlier on the power play, given his skill set. It looks different, of course. I mean, I would say, too, as I put on the old Twitter machine, Scheifele spent one of the rotations as the slot guy again, and then Perfetti was the guy on the wall. So, it depends on, sometimes he's going to be in the umbrella, sometimes he's going to be in the high slot. So, you got a different skill set, a different hand from Blake Wheeler, but a guy who's very smart, can distribute the puck, it can also shoot it. And on that second unit, super interesting, Huss. Nobody is, speaking of interesting, Michael Eyssimont has gone from top line player to, riding shotgun with Kyle Capobianco on the fourth pairing today. So that's another guy who can give you some energy and offense, but, your spot's not guaranteed. And right now, Kevin Stenlund has come in with a particular skill set. He's not a super physical guy, but he's big and strong. He's won a lot of draws. And with Mark Scheifele struggling in the circle on occasion, Stenlund's come in and, he went 67% the other day, and that was with a loss or two late in the game. So, suddenly Kevin Stenlund was on the penalty kill because he can win a draw. Suddenly Kevin Stenlund is on the second power play unit. So, the old, with the stock market of Jets forwards, there's been a lot of risers and a lot of guys that have gone up and then down, but then gone back up. So that just goes back to the whole thing we've talked about in terms of the competition, Huss. So the competition is definitely happening, but it's a daily competition, and you can't get complacent. I'm not saying that Michael Eyssimont got complacent by any stretch of the imagination, but depending on the skill set that is required for the particular jobs that are being handed out, well, one day you're here, one day you're there. It's like, it's like the classic Seinfeld. We're not sure who Even Steven is, but one friend is up, one friend is down, and then Jerry's kind of in the middle. So, I mean, that's sort of how it is for, Michael Eyssimont now is on the down. Kevin Stenlund's on the up. I'm not quite sure who's in the middle, but it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes down. And the thing is,
are you surprised Eyssimont didn't get back in the lineup tonight? I mean, I kind of spoke about this yesterday. I thought in a game where they might really need that energy, he might be because I have no doubt that when he gets back into the lineup, he will be doing everything he can to reinforce the things that he brought to the team right off the bat that saw him rise all the way into the top 6.
For sure, Huss. I mean, I'm not surprised, and this is why. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby was very good on Saturday. So to me, the guy that would be coming out would probably be Axel Jonsson-Fjällby in that scenario. But I thought he was excellent against Vancouver. He drew the penalty against Tyler Myers early. Obviously, the shot that he scored on, and we talk about this all the time. I mean, the leash is different lengths for different players. But at the same time, if you ask someone to do, again, and I don't like how Axel Jonsson-Fjällby played the 2 goals against Washington, but it wasn't just his fault. There were other people at fault on those assignments as well. Sam Gagner being one of them when he overcommitted when Nate Schmidt already had the guy on the wall. But if you tell someone that he needs to do something in particular and he does it, and in a game where most of the team didn't play well, to just single out Axel Jonsson-Fjällby probably wouldn't have been fair in that scenario either, Huss. But you're right. I mean, it's a risk. I mean, it's a risk for Rick Bowness, because you could need that energy. But I mean,
do they like Kuhlman more than Eyssimont? I mean, I kind of thought that Eyssimont might be coming back in for him.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When you get a guy on, like Rick said it, Rick told us all we needed to know about Carson Kuhlman last week. They picked him up to play him. So they're trying to find out what they have in terms of their skill sets. I mean, I would say that Michael Eyssimont is probably a little bit more of a natural finisher, but they're both energetic guys. They're both, not super big guys. I wouldn't say they're undersized, but they both, they show a lot of tenacity and get their noses dirty. I would say Eyssimont has shown more of a, in terms of drawing people in and drawing penalties. We've seen more of that so far. But I think for Kuhlman Huss has gone from a guy who played like routinely in the double digits for ice time, and then at the end of his tenure in Seattle was in like 6.54 range. So I think they're trying to give him a little bit more of a run of games here. I don't think it's necessarily Eyssimont versus Kuhlman is my long-winded way of saying that. But I think that Eyssimont will probably be going in and out for someone like Jonsson-Fjällby. And we also know, like we talked about last week, well, basically Rick Bowness put David Gustafsson on notice. I mean, were it not for Gustafsson's penalty-killing prowess and defensive play, he might have been the guy coming out, whether it's for Eyssimont or someone else. But I think the competition is ongoing. I know that Michael had this big flash where he really had a big impact in some of those games. But to me, it's similar to Yevgeny Svechnikov last year. Like, you saw a nice small block of games where he played with Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois. I didn't see that as a long-term solution either. Eyssimont, showing great engagement. I think he will get another opportunity sooner than later. Whether it's against Boston or Washington, I don't know, but I'd expect him to play in at least one of the 2 games before the Christmas break arrives. But it's more just about opportunity and skill set. And I think Rick Bowness has a good idea of what he's getting. And there too, Huss, for me, it goes back to what we talked about with roles. And I know we're going to get to Heinola right away here, but Kuhlman is a penalty killing guy. So Eyssimont is not killing penalties, but Eyssimont can help your second power play. That spot is being occupied by Kevin Stenlund. But they're just sort of trying to figure out where the pieces fit the best. And when a team is playing down 6 or 7 guys, that's not always an easy shell game of, sometimes it's the, square peg in the round hole, and you're trying to do your best to get that Band-Aid solution. But it'll be interesting to see how things kind of shake down. And because it's still a longer term injury with all of the players that are on that list, I mean, there will be opportunity for guys to separate themselves from the pack. And that's something that Rick Bowness is looking for. And I think, back to Kuhlman, I think they wanted to give him a stretch of games for him to show that he can be part of that mix. And now I think that same, principle will apply on the back end to Ville Heinola, because it would have been easy for Rick Bowness, despite what, social media might think. Pal Capobianco came into the lineup after missing almost a month of games, Huss. and put together 2 pretty solid games. But now Ville Heinola is a guy that can help the second power play. And for a team that is looking, RD or coming, according to Rick Bowness, that should suit Ville Heinola's game. And now there's an opportunity for him to, help pick up some of the offensive slack that we've talked about. It's not necessarily only going to come from the top 6, but a guy like Heinola, given his offensive capabilities, him coming into the lineup might help, in terms of maybe giving the offense a jolt from the back end, which has been a much more productive than it was last season.
Yeah, just to finish up the forward stuff, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with Gagne and with Kuhlman tonight, along with the 2 big pairings of Dubois and Connor and Scheifele and Perfetti. I could make an argument right now that both Morgan Barron and Jansen Harkins might be better fits right now with those players. What does that do to the third line? And to be honest, I would love to see at some point Adam Lowry playing with David Gustafsson and Kevin Stenlund, although then who's playing center on your fourth line? How does that look? I mean, it really does make you probably more of a 3-line team. But I will say this, even with the depleted numbers they've got up front, I think that the way Harkins has played since coming back from the Moose and Morgan Barron and the package that he continues to show, I think makes them options right now. And as we've said, just because this is what the lineup was in the morning skate, don't count on that being that at the 10-minute mark of the first period or the second or the third going forward. Back to Ville, though. This is his chance. And I know I don't know how many times we've talked about Ville Heinola on this program, waiting for this sort of opportunity to present itself. And it was pretty clear early on, Ken, that Ville Heinola wasn't going to get a regular shot in this lineup until there was a couple injuries. Well, now is that time. Logan Stanley's out a month. Nate Schmidt's out 4 to 6 weeks. And I think the Schmidt injury is particularly key because of that role, as you laid out, that Ville Heinola can play. I know you've said before, and I tended to agree with you, that when Ville Heinola finally gets called up and plays regularly, that's going to be it for his time with the Manitoba Moose. I'm not sure I'm as bullish on that right now just because of the way things have gone this year. But make no mistake about it, this is Ville Heinola's best opportunity to plant a flag in that top 6 and show that he can be a reliable everyday defenseman. And whatever he can do on that second power play unit can also really help him as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Huss. If you're Ville Heinola, you have to plant that flag, at least in terms of this season, where you're going to stand in terms of the overall depth chart and where things are standing. I think it's important that the Jets give him we talked about Kuhlman getting a run. I expect that Ville Heinola will get a longer run. I'm not saying that's a 20-game run, Huss, but I am saying I think it's more important for the Jets to give him a 5 to 10 game run out of the block to show what he can do, to show he's made those improvements that he's been asked to make in terms of his other play with a play away from the puck and things of that nature. But for Ville, he needs to show that he belongs. That's the biggest thing for me. He needs those defensive reps against NHL players to show that his reads are quicker, to show that he's competitive enough to get involved in those battles. And I do think the opportunity is knocking heavily for him. And again, I don't want people to think that Ville somehow becomes expendable if it doesn't go well for the 10-game block. And I'm not saying he has to be uninterrupted. And if things don't go well, Kyle Capobianco has shown that he is a capable, alternative. But this is everything that Ville Heinola could ask for and more. It's all about being comfortable, showing confidence, and playing to your strengths as a player. He can't be tentative. He needs to be assertive in all 3 zones. He needs to play within the system, but also he cannot be tentative, Huss. He has to get involved. Rick Bowness, it's great to say it, but now you have to stick by it. Rick Bowness said, I want him joining the rush every chance he gets. Hey, that's as green a light as it's going to get. But the issue with that, Huss, is that if the decision-making doesn't line up with when he should be joining, now that's when things happen. And maybe if there's not a forward covering, that's when they get into the issues that have kind of plagued Ville Heinola in the past when the opportunity has not been as prevalent. I think of the game against the Philadelphia Flyers in particular. But finding that balance between confidence and risk-reward analysis, that's a hard thing for a young player to do. But this is it, Huss. This is a great opportunity for him to do a couple of things. It will either show that he's ready. It could potentially enhance his trade value. And I'm not saying that the Jets are putting him on the block. I'm not saying that at all, but we all know this. If the Jets are big game hunting, if they're in the mix for a guy like whoever it is, whether it's Timo Meier or whether it's Ryan O'Reilly or Bo Horvat or whoever, the first name all of those GMs are going to be asking about is Ville Heinola. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not advocating for the Jets to trade Heinola. I've said this to you before countless times on this program that I think that Heinola still provides a high enough ceiling that he can be a top, 2 or 3 defenseman in the NHL, even though we know the contract situation and everything else. But if an organization is pushing all its chips into the middle and going all in, he's also the type of prospect that will be required to acquire one of those bigger ticket, high-end items when it comes to the trade deadline. But that's a conversation for another time. The Jets need Ville Heinola to come in and contribute. They're not worried about him raising his value. They need him right now to play a sound level of hockey so that he can help their team win games. And he has the ability to do that. He could be an impact player, and I think he'll be given an opportunity to be that. I think it's interesting in terms of the pairings. I think I would have not have been surprised to see Neil Pionk put with Dylan Samberg and having Brennan Dillon a little bit more experience with Ville Heinola, just maybe initially for the first couple of games. But obviously, Scott Arniel and Rick Bowness like where the pairings are at. And I think Samberg has played in the past with Heinola at times with the Moose. So I don't think I'm not saying it's bad that they're not doing it. I'm just a little bit surprised that they didn't give him a little bit more insulation, if you will, Huss. Having said that, it's kind of a, show me what you can do. That's sort of the message from the Jets coaching staff. And I think also that Dylan Samberg is playing at a high enough level that, I think he will provide a stable partner for him. I really like the confidence that he showed on the stretch pass on the Axel Jonsson-Fjällby goal. But I expect, Ville seemed very calm today, Huss. I know you would have seen the scrum with him. I thought he said all the right things, but ultimately for Ville, it's, do it. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to show it. There won't be a time at the end of this stretch, whenever it ends or if it ends at all. I don't think there's an opportunity for Ville Heinola to say, hey, I didn't get a chance here. The chance is going to be happening. Now, are you going to be a 12-minute player because the coach doesn't trust you? Or can you be a 16-plus minute player and make an impact because you're playing up to your capabilities? So that's the part that's on Ville Heinola, and I'm fascinated to see how he handles it. I think he handles it well, Huss, but the whole no excuses mantra is soon going to apply to Ville Heinola because he's the one who needs to show the progress, and he'll be given every opportunity to do so in my humble opinion.
Well, he certainly hasn't been the beneficiary of any excuses this year because he spent pretty much the whole season with the Manitoba Moose.
For sure. No. What I'm saying is, last time he came up, well, he didn't have a chance to play on the power play. And I think one of the games he only played about 12 or 13 minutes when Dylan DeMello was out. And that ended, DeMello's injury was not severe enough that it kept him out of the lineup for a longer period of time. So I like the way that Ville, he went, talking to some scouts. He didn't handle it great the first time he got sent back. I think after this time when he's been back, he's obviously playing at a high level, 10 assists in the 13 games. I understand at that level, it's hard to push yourself all the time, but he's done a nice job recently. I think he handled the move to the right side well. He seems eager and excited about that also. But it's just about finding that comfort level. It's one thing to say it, another thing to do it. But I think that he knows the score, Huss. He knows Nate Schmidt's not walking back through those doors in a week or two or 10 days or whatever else. Logan Stanley, we expect to be out long-term still. The only way that Ville Heinola is leaving the lineup is if he doesn't play well, Huss, and that they look at another option like Declan Chisholm or they use Kyle Capobianco. But he will be given every chance to succeed. And now it's up to him to grab the mantle and run with it as fast as he can.
Hey, it's funny. I mean, just thinking about the power play, and I kind of speculated this at the start, but with all the firepower put on that top power play unit right now that's in the Jet lineup, I know Rick Bowness has, tried to split the time up a little more evenly over this year, but I mean, are we going to be seeing another back to the old days of 1 minute 45 shifts for the PP1?
Well, I mean, I don't think that will be the case, Huss. And, one of the reasons I don't think that Is it Cole Perfetti? I don't see him. I mean, I know he would have done it in junior and been asked to stay out for longer stretches, but I don't see Cole Perfetti rolling out for, minute 45, minute 50 shifts. So it all depends who Heinola is changing for. And currently in terms of the configuration, that'll be Kyle Connor. So yes, there would be some danger of, Scheifele or Connor maybe staying out a little bit longer, but I don't think that they're going to be putting the squeeze on Heinola. I think that, they're going to want to stick to as much as the minute 15 stretches as they can. And, whether it's, I don't mean just power play. I mean, offensive zone starts. I mean, Rick Bowness said today has got last change. And to me, that means he's going to be trying to put Heinola out there in as many offensive zone starts as he can, because that will put him in the best position to succeed in terms of the offensive zone game and getting things going. And he mentioned on several occasions that he needs to use his skating ability. We know that this, John's going to come up right away here and tell you how strong a forechecking team the Senators are. And, if you're DJ Smith, you've circled Heinola's number on the board. I mean, he's the guy you're going to be attacking physically. I mean, that's what any coach would do when they're playing against a guy who's as inexperienced at this level as Heinola. But it's one thing to say you're going to run a guy through the end boards, and it's another guy when that guy is elusive to get there in time to wallpaper him. And if you over pursue, that's going to create opportunities going up the ice in terms of odd man rushes and situations. So how Heinola handles that part of the game is probably almost as important or more important than how he handles the defensive part of the game, because his strength is zone exits and moving the puck north when he's under attack and under pursuit. So I'm curious to see how he handles that aspect as well, especially, he's probably not going to be out on the ice against Tkachuk all that much, but I mean, if Brady's got a chance, Brady Tkachuk doesn't care if you're a Jacob Trouba or a Ville Heinola. If he has a chance to maybe run you through the end boards, he's going to take full advantage to do so. I mean, that's the way he plays. And that's why, if you remember, I talked to Alex DeBrincat today. He said, it's a whole lot more fun playing with Brady than it was playing against him. And he only had to play against him twice a year, Huss. So that'll be something to watch and monitor here this evening as well. And, it's not just Tkachuk. Like a guy like Austin Watson will be trying to get in on Heinola as well, right on the forecheck. So they got a couple of guys who are big and strong and physical, and it's not just Heinola they're going to be trying to put through the end boards. They'll probably try to put a target on Josh Morrissey too, but I mean, Morrissey is used to seeing that in every single game. So I don't see that being an issue for him as he tries to get that personal point streak to 10 games along with Kyle Connor here this evening.
Well, that was a nice segue because you're right. We are going to be talking more about the visitors in just a couple minutes with Jon Abbott. Kenny, best of the season to you. Thank you for your flexibility. We're usually flexible for you and your myriad of tea times. So it was very, very nice of you for one time here in 2022.
Spirit of reciprocation, Huss. It is the spirit of reciprocation. Easy for me to say. Always happy to come out of the bullpen, out of the bench, and love chatting with you. Love chatting with the listeners and watchers. And best of the season to you, your family, and everybody watching here. And have a great visit with Jon Abbott. Great to have John in town, and always great when he is involved in the NHL game.
You got it, dude.
He's a good human, just like you are.
Right back at you, Ken. It's just a mutual admiration society today on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll see you at the rink. Thanks for doing this, and have a great Christmas.
Yeah, take care, my friend. Cheers.
All right, there's Ken Wiebe. All right, yes, we are going to find a little bit more on the upstart Sens coming up with Jon Abbott in just a second. Just before we do that, I got to thank our friends at Princess Auto, and of course, we did our Bomber reports all year long for Princess Auto. They're great support of the Bombers and Winnipeg Sports Talk, the Princess Auto tailgate zone. Huge news, though, for a quick little Princess Auto curling report. Of course, Reed Carruthers, Jason Gunlickson had come together to be part of Team Carruthers this year. Sat down with them in person at the beginning of the season. They've split. Jason Gunlickson, and again, the report yesterday, or the release from the club, said that this was a mutual parting of the ways. But they've had great success so far. Top 5 on the tour list, and now There's been some pretty interesting rumors about who might be the addition to the Carruthers team. We'll be all over that. And of course, when we talk curling on the program, we do it for Princess Auto, who sponsors Reed Carruthers, Jennifer Jones, and does so much for the sport here in Manitoba and across the country. And of course, with Christmas here, you already know the Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop down and see them at one of 2 Winnipeg locations, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or you can shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Kind of perfect segue with Ken, the most hydrated man in Winnipeg, maybe Canadian media, to give a plug for our great friends at Culligan Water. Family-owned, the water experts in Winnipeg and Manitoba for over 65 years in the game. They've got it all. Water softeners, filters, bottled water coolers, whole home systems, and drinking water systems, not to mention citywide water delivery services and commercial and industrial water products and solutions. Pop down and see them at 1200 Sargent Avenue. You can give them a call for all your water needs at 204-694-5180 or check out everything they can do for you and your family online at drinkculligan.com. Hey, holidays are here, folks. You're probably taking a spin by Manitoba Liquor Marts at some point before the weekend. Make sure to pick up Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey and our great partners in the official whiskey of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Canadian Club. It is truly legendary. Available in a variety of makes and sizes at your local liquor marts. And Bomber fans, check out that Jim Beam display, because right now, the biggest 20 Manitoba liquor marts, if you're picking up Jim Beam, you'll get a free Bomber collector glass featuring either Zach Caleros, Adam Bighill, or hometown hero Nick Dembski. And hey, just as we transition to tonight's game, if you're not going to the game, you know the best place to watch Winnipeg Jets hockey is at your local Boston Pizza. Pick a player, promos, great nightly specials, and more. And of course, we got a big Thursday nighter. Well, at least it's a Thursday nighter in the NFL coming up. Great doubleheader. Boston and the Jets at 6, and then the Jets and Jags in a game that actually has some playoff implications for the New York Jets, and the Jags still hanging in there. Great specials for NFL football all year long at your local Boston Pizza. And hey, if you can't get in there, check out the new holiday menu and order online at bostonpizza.com. All right, let's get back to tonight's game. And what a pleasure it is to welcome the voice of the Ottawa Senators on TSN. Jon Abbott joins us now. Jon, welcome to the Peg. What's going on?
Thanks for having me. Great to be back on with you. Love the work you're doing, by the way, and love the response to it in Winnipeg and Manitoba. And nice to see Kenny as well this morning and on with you. And man, that was a good string of ads there. I was liking everything you were putting out. So
we've got a great family of sponsors here.
Yes.
One thing we don't have is hotels. How was your sleep last night? Did you get zapped by the sheets by any chance?
You know what? We do not travel with the team, and we don't stay with the team. So that was we're at the Delta, and it was a terrific stay. No problem at all. Enjoying your fine city. I have some relatives in Manitoba, Boys events. So I'm. I get to come up here once in a while for non-hockey reasons, and no staticky sheets, despite my hair maybe looking like it's been zapped. But no problems here in Winnipeg for us.
No, great stuff. Couldn't help a little crack. I mean, that was a big topic. And, well, I mean, it wasn't a big topic around here. I mean, sometimes people need things to talk about. And I guess old Mark Mathot gave us a little bit to do it. But, hey, let's talk about this game tonight. I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about just this insane schedule the Jets have had through the month of December. And when the schedule came out, you knew it was going to be that case. I mean, no 2 days off at any point, multiple back-to-backs, 4 days in 7 days, 4 games in 7 days in 3 consecutive weeks. And now they're coming home for one game against an Ottawa team that overall, at least in the past 3-4 weeks, Jon, has seemed to be playing far better and really playing the desperate sort of hockey that their current situation would demand.
Well, you're right, Huss. And, there are some similarities between the two teams, given their thick December travel schedule and, really plentiful games on the board in that month as well. I know Winnipeg Jets fans recognize that their team often has to travel further. And so, the challenge is real for the Jets, who I was talking to some of the coaches today, and I don't even think they have a full practice scheduled until the new year. There's no time. You have to give the guys a day off after coming back from the West Coast yesterday, and then you go to the East Coast just before Christmas. So, yeah, Winnipeg always seems to have a difficult schedule, and then trying to manage that has its challenges as well. Ottawa, right in the thick of it as well. They played a back-to-back in Detroit, Minnesota. Now we're here in Winnipeg, and they'll play a back-to-back against Ovechkin's Capitals, and then the Red Wings before getting into the Christmas break. So the schedule is almost exactly the same down the stretch here for the two teams. And the benefit for both is that, I guess, as far as the Jets fans are concerned and keeping up in the Central, and for the Sens fans, it's just trying to get into the Christmas break on a high. And they've done that in their last 5 hockey games or 6 hockey games, winning 5 of those 6, on a 4-game win streak before meeting the Minnesota Wild and losing one in Minnesota. But doing it without Josh Norris, their number 1 center, he's only played 5 games this year. Doing it without Tim Stützle, who fortunately, as far as the team's concerned, his injury doesn't seem to be as damning as it once was thought. But he's not back till the new year in all likelihood. And then Artem Zub, who's their top pair steady Eddie defenseman, has not been able to play the last bunch of games either. So it's been a grind for the Sens. They worked themselves into a hole, but they've been playing better lately. You're right, Huss.
Well, John, I mean, fill us in, because I think, like, we told them Pierre Dorion to raise the banner, off-season champions, and Winnipeg was the off-season champions the year before. We saw how that season went, and it happened before. In some ways, it's almost a curse. Certainly, way higher expectations this year for the Sens. I mean, tell us about the start of the season, what didn't go well for Ottawa, and what has sort of turned around with their recent play of late, which has resulted in far more wins than they had in October and November.
Well, it's easy to get glued to the roster, and you're right, the summer of Pierre. I mean, Claude Giroux coming back to his roots and embracing the Ottawa Senators after leaving the Flyers in a quick stint with the Panthers, and he's been a wonderful addition, really solidifying the forward group, and especially now in the absence of two their top centermen, able to rotate into the middle and really just take on any responsibilities. So that was a fantastic signing in the offseason, and it's paid dividends already, despite not being in the where they are in the standings, where they'd like to be. And then you think of Alex DeBrincat, who you and Ken were talking about, and advertised, of course, coming over to the Chicago Blackhawks as the 41-goal man. And he's been great, point-a-game player, just coming off of an 8-game point streak, foiled in Minnesota with 13 points during that time. So it's not as if he hasn't been contributing, but, he'd probably admit, along with the team's expectations, the goal totals could come up a bit. He's had his chances. He's been all around it, but hasn't been able to bury as much as he would have liked. So there's a little bit of the lack of offense at times. There's still some question marks on the D, despite Jake Sanderson playing well beyond his years as a rookie rear guard, and Thomas Chabot leading the charge as he always does. And then Cam Talbot, another offseason acquisition, started the season hurt, and losing Josh Norris just 5 games in as well didn't help either. So it's a Sens team that thought that they would have a better November than they did last year. It was slightly better than the 1 win they recorded in that month a year ago, but that was another tough roll. It's kind of put them behind the 8 ball, chasing the rest of the Eastern Conference into the Christmas break.
I've been a big fan from afar of DJ Smith, with how he has handled his club, the way he speaks to the team, the way he speaks through the media, the sort of messaging, the no BS attitude that he sort of brings to it. That being said, you have to win games. I mean, how, with the heightened expectations that everyone had for this Ottawa team, how's DJ handled it? And I'm sure there was a lot more pressure on him as the head coach of this team than in previous years, where they didn't have a fan base expecting that this team would at least be pushing for the playoffs and playing meaningful games late in the season.
You're right. And that's what they still hope to get there to the Senators. Their goal heading into the Christmas break was to work themselves back to 500. They've come close, and, with 2 games to go after tonight's, maybe they'll get there. They feel they can be in the mix if they can get to that point, and then try and get healthy, take the break to their advantage, and get some guys back in the new year. So that is their goal. But the ultimate goal was to be in a competitive position at the trade deadline. And so that remains to be seen if they can dig out of, again, a sour November that really put them behind in the standings. But absolutely expectations are different this year. And they are for the general manager, Pierre Dorion, who you just mentioned. They are for the head coach, DJ Smith, and one of the longest tenured coaches in the league right now, and certainly in our country, in Canada. So he's been through his share of challenges. He's had rosters that were, not really going to be able to compete on a nightly basis previously. This roster is expected to be different. So I like how he's handled the team. I still think there's a good belief in the coach from the guys in that dressing room. But as much as we can talk about trying to pull themselves back up and playing better hockey of late and kind of fitting into DJ Smith's style, the new year, they're going to need those results to be there more consistently because if they're not, trying to work themselves up to a wild card spot, which is some heavy lifting, then I think it would be considered a disappointment in Ottawa with the way the season would end.
Jon Abbott's the play-by-play voice of the Ottawa Senators, joining us before a 7 o'clock puck drop tonight between the Jets and Sens at Canada Life Centre. We talked a little bit about DeBrincat and Giroux and the additions that they've had been. But Brady Tkachuk is the engine of this team, the emotional leader, the leading scorer. I'm interested from your perspective as to how he handled the struggles earlier on this year and the sort of captain that he's turned into. I'm sure putting a lot of this burden and this team on his back at times as they've kind of turned it around.
Well, you can tell that, the Keith Tkachuk and the Tkachuk lineage has run true with getting these kids to the rink at an early age. And even Rick Bowness was talking about it this morning, remembering Matthew ripping around the rink in Arizona. So they're just, Huss, there's just something different when, NHL children are able to grow up around the room and kind of get a sense of the day-to-day and watch players a little bit differently and be in that bubble already. And you forget how young Brady Tkachuk is, not only in his NHL tenure, but also in his captaincy, because he has poise like a veteran. And you're right, the engine that drives this team forward. DJ Smith has said when he's their best player, he doesn't really even need to say anything. The rest of the team will follow. And so that's mostly been there on a nightly basis for Brady Tkachuk, even despite some difficult stretches of the schedule and the lack of results from the Ottawa Senators. And so I think what's encouraging is that the results statistically have been there, hasn't changed Brady's attitude at all. And he seems to be a guy that can get the best out of his teammates. So he's leading a group that feel their best hockey is still to come this season. And he is the heartbeat of the Ottawa Senators, no doubt.
Jon, before we go, there's two younger players I wanted to ask you about that, might not be household names to casual fans or people that haven't paid a lot of attention out to everything going on in the East. You mentioned one of those, Jake Sanderson. I believe he's a former UND player.
That's right.
He seems to have been, maybe over-delivered on what you could have possibly expected for such a young defenseman. And the other guy that looked very good playing against the Jets in the preseason was Shane Pinto. And I imagine he's being leaned on even more with the injury we talked about to Josh Morris. Fill us in on their 2 seasons and where they fit in right now in this Senators club that we'll see tonight.
Yeah, 2 former North Dakota athletes, as it would turn out. And the Ottawa Senators are liking that pipeline because both have been fantastic in their rookie seasons. You look at Shane Pinto, we can start with him first, and he might just finish on top of the rookie goal scoring lead, depending what Matty Beniers does, I suppose, in Seattle. And it was a real hot start for Shane Pinto. Great shot, bit of a sneaky shot. So teams at the beginning of the season, I think, were a little bit underprepared, maybe underscouted for the likes of Shane Pinto and what he can do. So he has that threat offensively. And he's worked himself in a position where ideally the Ottawa Senators, Huss, would love to play him as a third-line center and get some of those matchups and ease him into a very difficult position. He's found himself number 2 center, sometimes number 1 at times because of the absence of Josh Norris and now Tim Stützle. So it's been a real-life experience in the first half of the season for Shane Pinto, and he's mostly excelled. And to get to the back end, and Jake Sanderson, another guy with bloodlines, his dad Jeff has been able to pop up and see his first NHL goal in Vegas and get to the rinks in Dallas as well as Nashville to see some of his games. And I was able to catch up with him there, saying, you have an idea that your son's going to be able to excel, but he was a forward. Jeff was, obviously, and so he says I can't even tell him anything about the position. So it has been, for Jake Sanderson, it's just been a joy to watch him and the Ottawa Senators. My goodness, I don't think it's going to take very long for him to be in a top pairing discussion. That's how good he's been. So even though the defense, Peridorian, I'm sure would like to add there, they know that they have a really good foundation with Chabot and Sanderson to build around.
Hey, John, just before we go, do we expect Cam Talbot tonight? And just tell us a little bit about his season so far.
I would expect so, yes. It's unconfirmed, but given that Forsberg played in Minnesota, that was a bit of an eyebrow raiser because Cam Talbot he was hurt at the beginning of the year, so that was unfortunate for him. He wasn't able to start the season, took a puck to the rib and had some problems there. It's a difficult recovery, but Cam has responded well, rattling off 4 wins in his last 4 starts, including what would be the first half of a back-to-back in Detroit. So I would think it's his turn in net tonight against the Jets, but he's proven here, he's looked more like the Talbot that the Senators were counting on getting, a guy that was an all-star in Minnesota, led them one of the best records in franchise history, and just kind of became a little bit of the odd guy out when Marc-Andre Fleury emerged as the one to carry them into the postseason. So, I think it's a Sens team that will lean heavily on Talbot in the second half of the season, but feel confident in Forsberg as well. And, think that that's an area that they won't have to pay too much attention to for the rest of this season. So Talbot, for my expectation, would become the guy that if this team needs a win, he's probably going to be in net.
John, this was awesome to have you on. Keep up the great work. Thanks so much for doing this, and have a great holiday season when time permits, because I know you guys aren't going to get very much of it.
We're hoping to be back Christmas Eve and then out again on the 27th if weather cooperates. But who am I to talk about weather when it comes to what the Jets and Winnipeggers have to navigate? So we'll knock on some wood. And yeah, my pleasure, Huss. It's just been great to get back and talk to you. Awesome to be in this Canadian matchup tonight. And I think it's 2 teams that are going to put on a good show, so I'm really looking forward to it.
It should be good. And hey, listen, while we're worrying about the weather, I just did a show with Dustin Nielsen this morning, and it's minus 32 in Edmonton, so it can always be worse.
Yes.
Just look at the map. John, all the best. Thanks so much for doing this. You be well.
The same. Happy holidays, Huss.
Good stuff. There it is. Jon Abbott, play-by-play voice of the Ottawa Senators. Truly one of the, a guy that has done so much when it comes to, play-by-play. Remember many of his calls before for World Junior Hockey back on our old days on TSN, and great to see him flourishing now in front of the cameras on TSN. All right, let me just check the chat here. All right, Remis is on top of it, folks. Marble registration is open. Exclamation mark marbles in the chat, and you'll be in for what is this? Qualification race number 9 today. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the remaining 4 races, including today. And then December 30th, the championship race, where we'll be giving away a pair of Bomber season tickets for 2023, courtesy of our friends over at Consolidated Supply. And we'll probably be cheersing our champion with Winnipeg's finest local beer, Little Brown Jug. Hey, holidays are here, folks. If you've got some friends coming back into town, might I suggest a meetup at the great brewery and tap room down on William Avenue in the Exchange. And while you're there, check out their great merchandise and try all the beers and take your favorites home to go. If you can't make it downtown, what you can do is hit them up on online, littlebrownjug.ca, for citywide delivery, including all their great merchandise. And a Little Brown Jug available at fine beer stores around the city and province. And, of course, 1919 on tap at all great restaurants. Let's get Remis back in here as we open up the marbles. Remo, what's up?
Just keeping track here of all the names. 167 and counting. I know we got a lot of people in the chat who want to get in on this race. We appreciate everyone who stuck around for this long. Hey, if you are here, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. We got to get to 80. We're at 8,500. The march to 9,000 YouTube subs is on. Also, after this show, if you missed it, we posted the Chris Jericho interview from yesterday as a standalone. You gotta want to check that out. Leave a comment. Hit the thumbs up on it. Let's see how many people we can get that shown to. And also, Winnipeg Sea Bears starting up in May, and we chatted with the commissioner of the CEBL, Mike Moriali. Great conversation with us about the league, CEBL, that's Canadian Elite Basketball League, and the Sea Bears who are starting up, what you can expect to see. If you're a Winnipeg sports fan, check that out as well. And always great after you watch them and leave a comment, hitting the thumbs up. It tells YouTube, hey, we got good content. Yeah, it's going to show it to other people and bring more people into the Winnipeg Sports Talk community. So thank you, everyone who is here trying to get in on this marble race.
Yeah, that was great stuff. And yeah, the Jericho interview from yesterday is up as a standalone. Definitely, if you can, pop on there, like it. Maybe drop a little comment, as Remis mentioned. Certainly will help us spread the word, and it might actually help us get a few more of the AEW stars on the program for the big event on the March 14th. And I know most people are totally down with the AEW guys, especially the Winnipeg dudes.
That's how it's done. Yeah. So go on go on Twitter. I tweeted out a clip of Jericho saying, hey, if it wasn't for Winnipeg, maybe there wouldn't be an AEW. Go retweet it, like it on our Instagram, on our TikTok, do all the things. It helps us grow and helps our content. The more engagement with it helps it be shown to more people.
And again, what we are asking of you is to give the gift of WST this Christmas season. It's the most inexpensive but best gift you can possibly give somebody. And that's essentially showing them where we're at, how they subscribe to that YouTube channel, and welcome them in to the WST crew. While people are subscribing on YouTube, and if you haven't already, one thing you need to do is turn on the notifications. Why? Because you never know when there might be an impromptu Winnipeg Sports Talk show. We've done a few when there's been some big trades in the past. We've talked about potentially even around the holidays, firing up a bit of a game stream and have fun hanging out with people. So make sure you turn that bell on. Normally it'll just tell you we're going on at 1 o'clock at our normal time. But if there are additional shows, you will know about them as they happen. And as Dan Jets fan just put in chat, loved the short impromptu show last night where Hassan Remo never started.
Yes.
There is a mystery, a great mystery of yesterday's show. I should give a shout out to Peyton Wilding, who hit me up with the DM asking me what was up with this show. And I wasn't sure what he was talking about. And then I went over to our channel and saw that we were live, and it was just the spinning Winnipeg Sports Talk logo. Needless to say, Remo, you were not there at the time. You weren't even at home. You were at a holiday concert.
Yes.
And I'm not sure whether we've ever really understood or figured out how or what happened last night, other than it was fun to get in and just have a little extra chat with some of the people that did jump in. But it was hilarious. People like, oh my God, was there a huge trade? Something's happening. No, not at all. We still have no idea why a mystery show started yesterday evening, but it did.
Yeah, and first of all, shout out to SK and chat us just gifted 5 memberships to the community. So that's 5 more people.
Hey, SK.
Yeah, they got a microphone and their name in green.
By the way, SK, just before I forget, SK, if you haven't already, you're a qualifier for the marble race. Make sure to send us your an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com, just with your contact info and all that stuff, so you're in. Okay, you did get it already?
Yeah, I spoke to SK already. But yeah, fine, you get the access to all the sweet...
Thank you, SK. Beautiful. Yeah. The spirit of giving on WST. That's awesome.
Yeah, you get access to the sweet emotes, like this Bones one that we've been rocking all day, all last week.
I love the Bones.
So that's it. Bones Brigade. We're in for that. I forget what I was even. Oh yeah, we had that impromptu stream. Yeah, I was out at
the mystery.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened. You text me, are we live right now? I was like, I'm not even home. And I had to figure out how to, it took me 10 minutes to figure out how to end it from my phone and then delete it after. I don't know what happened. I think I left it on start streaming my program here, and maybe it just started randomly. But I thought I got hacked or something. I was actually really scared.
I was worried about that too. Although one of the funny the funniest thing about the chat, and I can't remember who dropped this, was that the theory that Evan had decided to go live. He'd been watching Dad do enough of these shows and decided that he was going to take over and have a special WST. So, anyways, for those of you that popped in, great out. But it's a great reason to put your notifications on the YouTube channel, because especially through the holidays and throughout the season when stuff happens, we will pick up at times if necessary and make sure we go live. And as I said, we have been talking about maybe a holiday or a New Year's fun gaming stream to just BS with all of you, have a little bit more time to really focus in on the chat for myself being on live, play some games. So we will do that. So yes, notifications on Sivu Play. All right, last call for marbles. Exclamation mark marbles, everybody. You know how it goes. As we finish those up, Remo, I got to ask you, did you see Cale Makar decline a penalty last night in the NHL?
That's the way to put it. I mean, in football, you can decline penalties.
Cale Makar declined a tripping penalty yesterday on Matt Barzal.
I think he's up for the Lady Bing. I think you just have to give it to him. Sorry, Kyle Connor, but
most gentlemanly thing I've seen in a long time in the National Hockey League.
But yeah, what happened was Cale Makar's going around the net, and as you know, if you're doing a hard turn, you can lose an edge and fall, and he did. Well, Matt Barzal was kind of on him. They called a penalty, and Cale Makar's like, "Nah, I fell on my own," and declined the penalty. Has that ever happened in the NHL?
I can never remember that. I can never. Hit us up in the chat if you can remember. Essentially, someone going to the ref go, "No, actually, I just slipped. That's no penalty." And the fact that they didn't call it, I mean, credit to the referees. I mean, I think at some point you're sort of pot committed when your hand's up and you blow the whistle. But that wasn't the case, and they went to center ice, they dropped the puck, and they continued going on. So a lot of respect for Cale Makar. I'm sure that if I was a Avs fan, I would be going, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like, let's take the power play. But high scruples, high integrity, Cale Makar, last year's Norris Trophy winner.
That's good karma. And after the game, he said he apologized to his teammates, and he said, "Don't plan to do that again." I don't know. It seems like a good karma. I think it's probably good in the long term, Huss, to do that. I don't know if I would do that. I would probably snicker on the way back to the bench and be like, I fooled them. That's what I would do. But Cale Makar, I mean, the Avs, thankfully for them, Huss, they won in a shootout, 1-0 yesterday at the Hours. If they would have lost, that would have been rough.
Just quickly from last night, another ugly night at home for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, the Jets made them look bad on Saturday night, and they didn't look any better last night against the St. Louis Blues. Jordan Kyrou with his first hat trick, and I don't know what it is, Remo, with the Canucks losing 5-1 at home, but there's been plenty of 5-1 defeats, and that's not good if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan.
They got embarrassed on Saturday by by Winnipeg, and he thought that they'd be able to turn the page and come back stronger and harder, right, on Monday night against St. Louis. But no, it was Kyrou, Rob Thomas, Tarasenko tearing them up 5-1. And yes, Mike Halford from Sportsnet Radio in Vancouver tweeted out, the Canucks have played 15 home games this year and lost 5 of them, 5-1. So if you're buying a ticket to the Vancouver Canucks at home, you got a 20% chance of seeing a 5-1 loss. And that's not counting all the other games that they lost, because you look at their home record, it is 5-9-1. So they only have 5 wins at home, and 5 of those 9 losses are 5-1.
They have as many 5-1 losses as they do wins at home ice.
Yeah,
that's not good. Not good at all. All right, let's get the marbles going. And while we do that, by the way, Tage Thompson, Sabres, one of the most fun teams in the NHL to watch right now. They're digging themselves out of that slump they had last month or so. Big win last night in Vegas against the Golden Knights. And you see the Sabres right now. And again, it's very, very packed in that division right now. because we talked about Ottawa being at the bottom with just 30 points. The Buffalo Sabres have moved into 4th place with 34 points. You've got 4 points separating Ottawa, Montreal, Detroit, Florida, and Buffalo. But Buffalo has actually leapfrogged Florida as they've got a game in hand. And the Panthers got smoked last night by the Boston Bruins. It has, man, this club, I mean, President's Trophy winners to just 1 game above 500. And you know the heat on the seat, well, maybe not from Bill Zito, but certainly from the fan base, continues to burn for Paul Maurice.
Yeah, it was not good. Hey, one thing we forgot to mention us, just about quickly on the Canucks. On Saturday, someone threw a jersey on the ice. Yesterday, there was a sell the team chant. Shout out to...
we're now taking this all the way up top to the owner.
Yeah. Shout out to
Get
Kate
him out.
in chat. And yeah, Florida gave up a lot of goals. I mean, Boston's so good. I mean, they're at the tops of the Atlantic by a bit of a margin there. So, but I think Florida, I mean, we're fascinated here, Huss, with Florida and just the turnarounds of the Jets franchise with the coaching change. And I know Florida had a lot of roster turnover. I don't think it's all on the coaching. However, you do see a lot of some similar traits that the Florida team had last year, what the Jets team did. So they're in a tough spot when they had really high expectations going into this year.
Yeah, well, let's just say it's nice to be on the right side of it right now from a Winnipeg perspective. All right, Remote, you get the marbles ready. I'm going to quickly hit our Coolbet lines for tonight. You know what I should also be giving everyone is a subscription to the Lock Shop YouTube channel. Again, completely free, but paying for itself over and over and over again. Last night, had the Packers -7, had the under, gave out the A.J. Dillon touchdown anytime at +138. We have had such a great season. And tomorrow, with Dusty heading out to Europe to call the Spengler all holidays on TSN, we're going to have a super mega NFL show. Normally, we'll do our Thursday show, we'll do the Monday, and we do a couple on the weekend. We got to pack it all into one. So our picks for week 16 in the NFL, best bets for Saturday and Sunday, Thursday night football, Monday night football. It will all be there tomorrow. And I think we are going to go live an hour after Winnipeg Sports Talk tomorrow. So it's Lock Shop Bets if you haven't been there already. By the way, be one of our first 1,000 subscribers. As we build up to 1,000, we're giving away $1,000 to one of our first 1,000 subscribers. So you can win some money from us, and hopefully you can win a little scratch from some of the picks. Because as I said, we've had a great year so far. Thursday night football, just in case you're interested in, basically a pick 'em between the Jags and Jets in New York. New York -109 and the Jaguars -112. But tonight, got a relatively busy night in the National Hockey League and packing all these games in before we get to the Christmas break. The game here that we're most interested in with Big Save David Rittich starting, Jets are still favored, -135 for Winnipeg and +115 for the Ottawa Senators. Elsewhere in the league, Devils and Hurricanes. That should be a good game tonight. I didn't think we'd be talking about the Devils being such a powerhouse this year, but they have been, although they're still a slight underdog, +109 for the Devils, Canes -128. Blue Jackets lost last night 2-1 to Dallas. They're in action again tonight. They're underdogs +147 to Philly, who's stunk this year. Philly -174. Rangers and Penguins, always a great rivalry between those two. Penguins -130, Rangers +110. Lightning and Leafs. Man, we've got some great games tonight. Leafs -144, Lightning +122, Sens and Jets, as we mentioned. The Blues going back-to-back like the Jets did on the weekend. They're taking on the Seattle Kraken. Hopefully the Kraken can crack the Blues one and stop this run that they're on as of late. Blues +142, Kraken -168. Kings and Ducks at, the Crypto.com Arena, the artist formerly known as Staples Center. Kings -272, Ducks +225. And the Flames and Sharks. Flames a -176 road favorite, and the Sharks +148. Of course, you can always check the Coolbet exclusives. We'll see what the boys have cooking up tonight for that. And if you haven't played a Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus on your first deposit, up to $200 from our friends over at Coolbet. And again, don't miss super mega NFL lock shop for the entire weekend, dropping tomorrow after Winnipeg Sports Talk on YouTube, and search Lock Shop wherever you get your favorite podcast too for the audio version of that. All right, Remo, how big is our marble race today?
We had 237 names yesterday. I think today we got like 234.
Nice.
So pretty significant marble race.
Huge. These have been the biggest marble races we've ever had. Usually on Fridays, we might push 200, but it's great to see all of you marbles players coming out to drop in and get in on it. Again, today, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 3 marbles a day. You can still go to Winnipeg Sports Talk at winnipegsports.com/marbles and follow the instructions. We'll be picking 3 more marbles from there. And dare I say it, there could be the potential for one final qualifying race. We are going to have 3 more marbles. We were thinking about doing something on social media, but make sure to tune into the show next week. We'll either tell you how to get one of those final 3 marbles or potentially drop another race. But the finals, if you've qualified already, Friday, March 30th, the final thing we do this year is going to be award those Bomber season tickets courtesy of our great friends over at Consolidated Supply. All right, Reem, before we drop these marbles, I think we've got the other best part of this entire Marbles Fest is the fact that Tristan Rivers Music keeps on coming up with new versions of the Marbles theme song.
Yeah, I got another one in my inbox today. This is one of my favorite ones. I don't want to say what it was, but it's really good.
Let's go. Tristan Rivers Music does it again. We can't drop the marbles until we hear from Tristan.
Oh, wait. Let me just make sure you can hear it.
Yes.
You got to be able to hear it too. I have to have the right button. But okay,
Perfect.
we're good.
All right, let's do it.
It's Friday. Another week of work done. You deserve to be still, baby. And I drink to remind of Brian. Oh, the whole day is so glad to get it tonight. But you never even for pleasure.
Oh, I got that one. That's got to be Pantera.
Yes, it is. A lot of people in chat saying Pantera.
Nicely done. Nicely done. I went to the Pantera show, and I believe this was at the old Winnipeg Arena, if I'm not mistaken. They had the craziest pyro I think I can ever see. And then I think Nickelback actually got that same setup and used it for future shows as well. But, that's bizarre. We've had yesterday, Chris Jericho mentioned trash talking with the late, great Vinnie Paul of Pantera in the interview with the Vegas Golden Knights Jets rivalry. And now we have a Pantera version by Tristan Rivers today to get us ready for marbles. Tristan, you are the best. We can't thank you enough for the work that you've done to put these together. And of course, Candace as well, who's helping out with the who's helping out with all the videos, as we understand. All right, 3 more marbles will qualify for the championship race on September 30th. What are we thinking here, Remo?
What's this Tundra Tumble? Is that one good?
Tundra Tumble. Well,
or
we will
Thin
see
Ice?
it. Well, on Thin Ice, I think that was a graveyard. I think there was 1 million over-the-top ropes in that one.
I think we didn't have any over-the-top ropes yesterday, so people were asking.
What about Slippery Slopes?
Sure, that's a long one. Should we hit it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, this is a pretty long one. A very long average finish time.
That's okay. It's people love the marbles. We don't need a short race today. We are going to Slippery Slopes, marble race number 9, brought to you by Consolidated Supply. This is a longer one, folks. You gotta stay in it. Good luck to everyone. Thanks for joining us. get in the top 3. You got to get on the podium to get into the championship race. We've heard from Tristan. Now it's time to drop the marbles on WST. Let's go. Very different than the funnel. This is the Plinko start, if you will. To use a Price
Let's
is
see
Right.
what we're dealing with. Okay, that's the race. See how this one goes.
I don't know how this could be that short or that long.
It said it was long. I don't know.
Maybe it goes somewhere else afterwards.
Look at those cannonballs.
Who do we got here? Justin Fung, Jay Miller. These are the slippery slopes. Oh, yeah, there's much more to it after this. We're going down into a funnel. Jay Miller looking good. Nice start for Jay. Gotta get this thing playing, get it back to live.
Who's going to go in? There's so many. Oh, there's David J. Smith. He's in the lead right now.
David J. Smith and Jeff. What's the next one? The
Coldwell.
I think the more marbles we have in, it's a little blurry for me, so sometimes it's hard to read.
Okay.
Although it looks better. It looks better when on the actual YouTube bit. But Eric Shorlifson's in the mix. David J. Smith, though. David J. Smith looking good. Oh, yeah, the slippery slopes. This is a long one. Colorado Lows. Jeff Coldwell looking good. Evan Hunter. It does look like David J. Smith, though, right now is the guy so far. Where do we got? We got Running Man. David's slowed down a little bit. Colorado Lows is coming up, and Jeff Coldwell. We have a clear, defined top 3. Evan Hunter chasing. Mr. Hightower. But as I said, this is a long race, folks. I don't even think we're halfway done. So lots of time to make up ground on our leaders. Colorado Lows right now looks to be the number 1 rate. Now getting on to the skis.
What is this?
This is a wild one. It's a long one too. This might be in the mix for the this one might be in the mix for the championship race, I think.
So they got to go up the ski, back down.
Oh, we've had our first elimination over the top rope. There's another one. Mary Jane's out. BA Split's out. Moose won.
Oh, they're falling down.
Now we're starting to get some casualties here. Survival is key. Jeff Coldwell has navigated the skis. Who's in second? And Colorado Lows as well. Mo Hightower. Looks like Mo right now is our top 3, but we're getting some others. Did I see Free Oleg in the mix as well? All right, there's Jeff. Jeff's making it up the propeller, or the I don't know what you would call that. He's going up the tube. FRW, Colorado Lows. Is that Al or AI? I'm not sure. Mike Rogers in the mix as well. Jeff Coldwell got a little. Okay, here's the big slide. Into it.
He made it.
Jeff Coldwell is in. Mike Rogers, can he do it? Will he get into the... Yes, Mike is in. And Ferg. This was a wild one. This is what, the slippery slopes?
This was the craziest.
Slippery slopes. What did everyone think of that one? You want that in for the championship race?
I would have laughed if Jeff Coldwell missed the jump off the ski into the pot.
Listen,
there.
I thought that was possible, and I think we are seeing a couple that are missing.
Yeah. Oh, no, someone just missed it. Yeah, it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee, but it's not like the one that went back and forth where you had sort of a 50-50.
Jeff's in chat. He says, thank you, OMG.
Nicely done. Jeff Coldwell, our winner today. Mike Rogers, number 2. And I think that's Jay Ferg. So Jay Ferg, nicely done. Mike and Jeff, would you guys all kindly send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. We just want to add you into the list of confirmed marbles for the final race. And look at this. Always the diva. Tristan Rivers music just hanging out. Tristan might get about to get burnt, actually. No. See, Tristan's already in. And then jumps in at the end. Wow. If you're not in the top 3, you're last. So Tristan took some time on the slopes today, but killed it with the Pantera version of the marble theme. I'll tell you that much. So there you go. 320 for Jeff Coldwell, 326 for Mike Rogers, Jay Ferg just nipping Al by, not even about 0.4 of a second. Eric W., Chucker, Kevin Kowalik, Dylan Parker, FRW, and Krugs. The rest of the top 10. Oh, there's Dallas Pauls. Dallas had a nice run. Reba, if you want to just run down there just so people can see how they did. But that is going to do it for us. Yes, Travis, the skis were deadly. Patrolman Pete died. Hey, if you died, head on over to the website right now, winnipegsportstalk.com/marbles. You can enter to win one of 3 more marbles that we'll be giving out. And again, if you're listening on the podcast and you have a tough time getting in, that's a great spot to go as well. Don't worry, though. 3 more races this week, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. And tomorrow should be a good show. We'll have lots to digest from tonight's game against the Ottawa Senators. And a big look ahead as the Jets get back on the road for Thursday and Friday in Boston and in Washington. We'll have Murata Tesh. We'll have more on the other local teams around here. And by the way, we'll also get ready for a big week in the National Football League, both from a fantasy football perspective and, of course, the playoff races really heating up in and around the league. Great stuff today. Thanks to Jon Abbott for joining us. Of course, Kenny Wiebe and Jamie Thomas. Don't forget, if you're going to the game tonight, dress up in your Christmas best. If you're wearing a Santa suit, you might be part of that Santa race at the intermission for a Winnipeg Jets autograph team jersey. There's going to be some great giveaways tonight, and I would imagine with it being so cold, you might be able to snag some tickets if you don't have them already at a pretty good price at somewhere like Fans First, or obviously you can just get them straight from the team or on the Ticket Master resale site. Regardless of wherever you are, stay warm. If you're going to the game tonight, maybe we'll see you there. I'll be up in 316 holding court and hopefully seeing the Jets get a big home win before hitting the road against the Boston Bruins on Thursday. Big thanks to all the sponsors that make this show happen each and every day. And of course, all of you for making us a part of yours. We'll see you tomorrow to break down tonight's game and look ahead to the rest of the road trip to the 2-game road trip for the Winnipeg Jets on tomorrow's edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Have a great night, everyone, and stay warm.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.